Hey guys, what is up? Zuta and H2O here with you, and we are going to be casting the semifinals, Mitoe versus A's in the, is it the WarChiefs Classic? Is that what TWC stands for?
I think so. Last time I checked.
I don't know too much about this tournament. I haven't been following it super closely. I do believe I know that it's Mitoe and A's in one set of semifinals, and Diaroga and Kaiser Klein in the other side of the semifinals. So certainly some interesting players making their way towards the end game here. And based on the rules and some of that kind of stuff that I'm seeing, it looks like perhaps you're going to be seeing a Sioux for the first game. So I think I'm ready. Oh, I introduced you and then I didn't let you say anything. Do you have anything to say?
No, I mean, I'm just gonna help you out a little bit and say the first match has to be a native mirror, and then after that, there's a series of very specific matchups that you're allowed to play. So
I see. That'll be kind of fun, you know. And certainly we don't see much of the native civilizations, and so I'm pretty excited to actually see some of the native civilizations being played. I don't actually recall the last time I've seen a Sioux played in like a competitive setting, especially like in the semifinals of a tournament.
yeah, exactly. I had actually looked at all the tournament data that we had, and like most civilizations are well represented, but natives are only played like 18% of the time.
Right.
And they're like the only civs that don't get a lot of play time in any of the tournaments that we see. So it was good to have a native only event.
Cool. Yeah, I'm super excited. I'm still seeing unselected for the map, so it's just working its way.
Did you accept it already?
I didn't even. I didn't. It like never came up.
Yes.
Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go.
Are you ready?
I'm good to go. I'm good to go. I feel like such a noob when it comes to all this casting stuff. I was busy setting up my casting stuff this morning, and it was like, man, I haven't done this in a really, really long time, and it feels like just so strange to like having to go through all these motions, especially when, you know, back in the SmackDown days, I had everything set up, and it was just like a cakewalk. It was just like flipping on the lights, and everything was ready to go. But
yeah,
here,
camera Zuta.
it's camera Zuta. Here we go. Game number one, going to be starting a Sioux between Mitoe and A's in the semifinals of the WarChiefs Classic. The first map is going to be ESOC Hudson Bay, and of course that's a kind of a representation of SAG. It's got some of those very similar features. It's got the large body of water to the north side, and then kind of the trading post route snaking its way down to the south of the players. In the left side of the map, in the color teal, is Mitoe. He's going to be playing the Sioux civilization, as we've mentioned. And on the right side of the map, in the color red, playing the Sioux civilization as well, is A's. Certainly, I love watching these two players play. I think they've got some great attitudes about the game. They've got some obviously very good skills. If you've made it to the semifinals of a pretty competitive tournament, you're doing pretty well. And I'm really excited to see these two guys duke it out.
Yeah, we're already off to an exciting start here. Both players running straight for the same treasure. I wonder whoever gets this. Mitoe might have.
It's going to be really tough. It's A's. Yeah. Yes. The churn radiuses on the Sioux Explorer, because he's so fast and he has such high speed associated with him, makes the treasure gathering dynamic in this in early game really important, and two, it could be absolutely crazy. You know, both sides building up small little armies of pets and creatures and riflemen and stuff like that, and both sides working their way across the map and exploring so much of the map so quickly and so early. It's going to be it's going to be interesting to see what both players can get, especially on a map like this where realistically the treasures can be pretty good. Here we see Mitoe picking up 100 wood.
I mean, I think A's could have gotten back to take this. I guess he's just kind of feeling generous. He wanted for the 50 coin instead. The rifleman definitely saw it right out the gate.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I mean, the rifleman saw that treasure right when the convert began. So,
who used their convert for the rifleman treasure? Was it Mitoe?
It was A's.
Okay, it was A's.
And then he lost his rifle. So, I mean, if you really look at like all things considered, that first treasure fight, even though Mitoe didn't pick up the treasure, I don't think it really mattered that much. I mean, Ace still took way more damage on his Explorer, and Mitoe was still able to pick up a treasure that actually mattered. The Rifleman won't change anything in this matchup.
Yeah, realistically, it probably won't. Another treasure contention here. We're seeing fast and furious treasures. It looks like Mitoe's going to be picking up that 90 coin treasure. That's going to be pretty nice for him.
And meanwhile, his still had to fight.
It's kind of interesting to see this dynamic where both players have the Sioux Warchief, and both players are able to track down and kill all of the little creatures that get created. You know, if you think about like Sioux versus a European civ and some of that dynamic, usually the Sioux player is able to build up quite a large army of little critters as they work their way into the next stage, which can be, you know, really, really nice for holding early aggression or causing little distractions to, you know, units and stuff like that. But both sides, because they do have that Warchief who is so fast, can just chase down those NPC converts and you know, just kind of eliminate them from the game.
Yeah, and really, like the big that Rifleman treasure with the converted outlaw would have been way stronger in any other matchup. Like this matchup, it just doesn't really matter that much, which is kind of an interesting thing to consider based on everything you just said.
Yeah.
And like for example, like this Rifleman has done all of like 25 damage to a bear at some point, and now he's gonna poke at this Explorer.
Yeah, take a look at what we got there, yeah.
Like Mitoe going all in here, Ayo.
Do you think we're going to see some sort of War Club rush here, or what do you think this is going to be indicating?
It's definitely a Warhead build, yeah, there it is. Interesting. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be a club, maybe it will be a club rush.
If you think about, you know, generally the stable-oriented starts that you see a lot of Sioux players going for, you know, it's certainly it's a decent counter.
Mitoe might lose his Explorer here real quickly. I think he will. I don't know that he can get away from this.
If it's any reconciliation, he is causing a bit of a diversion from his forward base. I don't think A's quite saw it. I don't think it came into line of sight. And so, yeah, he's losing his Explorer, but he might actually be okay with losing his Explorer to buy himself the time to get his War Hut up and unnoticed. And, you know, maybe he can pop out some quick units and apply some pressure to a somewhat exposed base that A's is constructing over here as well.
Yeah, and if only Mitoe had his Explorer still to that point, like he might even be able to see this War Hut and know. But it looks like Ace has how many bills? He's got 3 bills on it. I think he'll be able to get it up.
Yeah, he should get it up just fine. The only concern would be, you know, is there 12 war clubs immediately sieging it down before he has any time to get anything out and actually deal with the early aggression, especially when his Warchief is really low HP. He wasn't able to build up a decent creature army to go with this defense, and so he may be a little bit exposed with him being so far away from the town center this early in the game.
Yeah, and like back in 2007, like over 10 years ago, like before people really figured out to do the bow rider strategies, a lot of Sioux mirrors were very much like make a lot of clubs, very aggressive, all club Seton type games. So it's kind of like a really, really deep pull strategy-wise.
Interesting little setup we're seeing here from Mitoe. 3 Seton bows did pop out from the War Hunt early in the game, and then immediately followed by a 7 War Club shipment. I'm not sure what this is intending to do. Perhaps he's trying to just hold any early pressure and keep the middle portion of the map. And here we go. Here's a new feature that I haven't seen. Look out.
Did we make a change where he didn't send a card to do that? We just made a change where these guys can always do it, I guess.
Yeah. It's
Mike, sit down. Oh my god.
You know,
horribly for him. His Explorer's not up. He's like, he could get wiped out by that TP.
That thing came up so quickly as well. Those war clubs just bent down and popped that bad boy up like it was nothing.
Mitoe, don't you just build your own TP right now with your clubs? Like you counter TP him?
I think you have to, right? That thing gives it gives both economic and military bonuses now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of a fight going on here. The clubs did get in a pretty good position against the Axe Riders. A couple Axe Riders singing around behind the bottom.
That's a lot of Axe Riders still alive, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of Axe Riders. And here comes the Set and Bow, 6 Set and Bow shipment from A's working its way in from the south side as well. Decent surround here by A's, and with that TP up, he's going to have a pretty good opportunity to eliminate most of the units from Mitoe. Now, the one thing that Mitoe does have going for him is he does have his next shipment likely available and coming on the way. And so I think he should be able to get his next 6 Set and Bow shipment out as well. Or maybe some Axe Riders or something to help deflect some of this pressure. The big Axe Rider pop right on top of the set.
That's a game-winning pop right there.
And that is brutal.
Oh. And the club's coming out to clear out the warhead behind it. I think he'll just go straight for the warhead. Maybe not.
Yeah, he's gonna get knocked down the TP. You know, certainly with these early aggression builds, the early units do matter. He's got to make sure that he doesn't overcommit himself too hard. The one thing we have to consider is A's does have a TP, so his 4th shipment will be much further along, and that's certainly something that Mitoe needs to be aware of. You know, is it going to be 7 war clubs? It looks like it is going to be 7 war clubs, or are there going to be a 4 Axe Rider shipment of A's own that's going to be able to pop out and help continue to apply pressure? So he's got to make sure that he's not too overly aggressive and doesn't commit behind the war hut and get trapped out in an awkward location.
Yeah, I think this is probably the right play by Mitoe, trying to put some pressure on this warhead, because A's has been a bit greedier. He's built 3 TPs this game and 1 other type of TP.
Yeah, if you look at the text complete, A's does have that market. I think it was a market start.
Bow Riders coming out though, that's so huge in this situation.
Yeah, didn't even see the stable. Mitoe's actually got a really nice mix of units going here. And this has got to be something that's concerning for A's. He's shipped a lot of his available shipments for military shipments. In fact, I don't think he has any left. And
I guess no military building either, man.
Yeah, he could have the 2 dog soldiers, I suppose, but
oh yeah, I forgot about those.
Yeah, but either way, you're right. He's in grave danger here. He's certainly going to lose the war hut. He doesn't have any additional buildings that have been constructed, and as a result, he's going to be in a really sorry state here in a hurry.
Yeah, and as you and I both know, it takes a while. First of all, Bow Riders in this matchup are really a strong unit. They're just hard to counter. And if you don't have the 6 shipment available, it's really hard to come back from being behind in Bow Riders. So I'm not sure exactly what A's line of play here is. It looks like he's just kind of hiding his army and hoping to get, trade villagers for time.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't know what time really binds him when he doesn't have a way to gather resources. He doesn't have a way to spend resources. There comes the 700 wood,
That's
which he can use to construct some additional military structures. One thing I will say, as these units work their way back out to the south, with my limited experience playing Sioux, because you don't build houses and because so much of your structures are calculated, often you don't have the wood floating to quickly, build a building, and you're so reliant on those wood shipments to actually get something going that kind of like Dutch, if you lose your early military buildings, you can be in a really tough situation because you just don't have the extra fallback of hey, I've still got some villagers that are consistently building.
Yeah, exactly. It's so hard to get back into the game when you're behind. They're just really hard to, as you said, get those buildings up. And I thank God he finally got his Explorer back. It's been sitting there for a while. If he had that in that earlier fight, I think he probably could have just cleaned out the whole army rather than trying to run away. Yeah, but as it stands, Ace is kind of back in the game a little bit. He's down by 5 vills, right? Because there's 7 vills because of all the vill trading, and then Mitoe sending the 5 vill instead of the 700 wood. I think Mitoe can honestly just start sitting on things like sitting on this TP or sitting on the next hunt and just kind of play out his advantage here.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I think Mitoe's next play here is just to ship 700 wood and then start to take the control of the TP line, because he's really done some pretty good damage to A's. He's killed some villagers. He's kept him back in his base. At some point in the very near future, A's is going to have to start considering where he's going to be hunting, where he's going to be mining. And if Mitoe just kind of stands on top of the TP route and waits for that to happen, he's going to be in a good position. But either way, it looks
like well-timed push.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to push his way in, and Mitoe just might be too far ahead at this point for it to really matter.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you look at what like the timing of it, A's just sent 5 vills, and he also has not had much time to really get any units out. Like he just had his first units pop out of his new production facilities, and like sure the trade went quite well for him, but A's lost a ton of vills there again, and now that we just continuing to build. Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
So many bow riders dying here that I'm surprised that might have let that happen.
Yeah, that seems like a little bit of a mistake there, just at the end to overstay his welcome a little bit. You know, like we mentioned, he still does have a fairly significant economic advantage here. If you look at the hunt situation, A's has maybe 3 muskox back to the north, and after that, you know, he's going to have to start working his way into some of these locations, which are, given the current military compositions and current state of the game, going to be very, very difficult to defend, especially if you consider behind this, Mitoe can ship 700 wood still is in his back pocket. He can, you know, run around with the war chief and villagers, building up some trading posts, maybe get some stagecoach action going, improve his economy, and A's is going to continue just to have to fight to stay alive.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, honestly, this TP really just should have been taken out a while ago. I'm not sure. I mean, I feel like Ace still has a chance just because that TP has not been taken out, and he's able to gather freely and produce units, right? So he's making bow riders. He still has some Setons left. I mean, he has a window in this game because, as you said, it's not a big window because eventually his hunts will be out. But until the hunts and this mine are out, he's got time. So
yeah, I guess the key is going to be whether or not Mitoe has scouted up there. I could see that, you know, there had just been one person, it looked like, who had just briefly passed through up there. That could be a tip-off that it was maybe only A's who had scouted up there. And so Mitoe, you know, might not be aware that there is that extra hunt up there, and might just be thinking, hey, I've just got to wait until I see this hunt move, and then I'm, you know, work my way over there and go in for the kill. Looks like Mitoe working his way, going to swing down to this trading post. I don't think there's really much that A's can do to stop it at this point. He's behind in military units, he's behind in economic units, and he's got to be very careful with how he approaches this fight.
Well, the thing is, what A's is going to do is just start raiding with the faster bow riders, and it's honestly really quite tough for Mitoe. He could easily lose 6 vills across these 3 locations just from this one raid alone.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. Mitoe, because he has been the aggressor up to this point, has been fairly safe in his hunting, and as a result, he's got villagers spread out everywhere, and looks like a couple going to go down here now at least. One biting the dust already. A couple more.
I don't like this decision at all. Geez, going all in on the heavily fortified position, 2 TPs, a war hut and a town center in this location. And really, he's just feeding away vills. I think he just says, I don't want to deal with the multitasking required here. I'm just going to put all my chips on the table and see what happens.
Well, he does have a superior army in Ace's base. He is killing a couple villagers, and he certainly is going to deal with the rest of the army. This one dog soldier going to be sneaking around into the back, going to be able to help clean up some of the bows. Now, he did win that fight quite handedly, and as a result, he's forced a response from A's to bring his raiding units back home. Instead of continuing to raid, which I guess is probably the desired outcome, but you know, had A's continued to raid around, look at how exposed the villagers are for Mitoe. I mean, they're just out in pockets in the middle of nowhere with literally zero cover. It could have been an interesting dynamic if had A's continued just to run around the map and keep fighting.
Yeah, and now Ace has got the ability to use his vills to soak a bunch of damage here. He's watching these vills to garrison them.
Yeah, but
losing another 3, 4, 5, 6 vills.
Yeah, that's the thing. Take a look at the economic unit population, 36 to 29. Both players have sent 5 vills at this point, which means that gap is going to be very difficult to recover for A's. Outside of doing some of his own raiding, should he be able to get back outside of his base. Unfortunately for him, I don't know whether or not that's going to happen. There are a couple Seton bows that do remain. Unfortunately, tasked there they go. Onto the war hunt momentarily, but you know, A's continuing to hold this pressure, and I guess, you know, now he's lost the trading post, which was for some time, I guess, the advantage we were saying that he still does have. He has allowed himself to continue to hunt up here to the north side of the map, which is good. He's deflected that pressure just by maintaining, you know, a relative status quo in his base. But at the same time, it's continuing to get a little bit more dire in terms of economic unit population. He really needs to get a good raid to be able to even that up.
Look at Mitoe's bank. He could age here. He's what? Whoa, is he buying for dogs? He's buying for dogs.
Oh, do you think he is? Oh yeah.
I mean, he had 1,400 coin. Now he has 0 coin, and I'm very confused. But I guess I'll allow it.
Well, he is going to get 8 dog soldiers. I believe it's 1 for every 2 minutes of the game. Is that correct? Do you happen
every
to
3 minutes?
Is it every 3 minutes? So then he'll get 5, unless he waits until 18 minutes. In which point
well, there's also that one glitch where you get it like the first dog comes at like at 2 minutes or something, so it's like on 16 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Something weird happens with the timing, so he got 6.
Certainly.
Long story short, he gets 6 dog soldiers.
And certainly Mito knew that. I mean, if you're going to buy dog soldiers, you're going to want to optimize it for your timing push, right?
Yeah.
And so probably a pretty good bet that he had that pretty well figured out. And now once again here, Mito just with an overwhelming military unit population lead, 44 to 24. And he's just going to circle siege with the TC. I think he knows he's got he knows he's got the better military. Taking a look at the economic unit populations, A's has evened up the score a little bit in terms of raiding around and getting some units killed. But unfortunately for him, his town center is going to be forfeited here pretty quick unless he can make a valiant hold. Although he does have quite a few bull riders here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand the all-in push here with the clubs and all that. And he's just kind of giving the game away. He was in such a good position. All he had to do was just simply make bow riders and attack them.
Oh no! And if he leaves the TC alive, that would just be an absolute travesty.
Even if he gets it, does it really matter?
There it finally goes. I think that was
well, the military population again. It's like I don't know. It just feels like this game was much simpler than Mito has made it by pushing into that town center repeatedly.
Yeah, and now I mean things are pretty evened up. I mean, so certainly the economic unit population is not going to grow for A's. He doesn't have 600 wood. He won't be rebuilding his TC anytime soon. I can't imagine. Certainly he'll want to continue to sink his resources into fighting units that he'll be able to continue to use to control the map now that he has a military unit population.
You say that, but I'm predicting A's is going to build a TC on this 600 wood, and it's going to be like right in the middle of the map, right down here.
You think so? I mean, I might actually lose here.
What do you mean he's definitely lost here? You've lost so hard.
A bunch of villagers going down there, I think 6 or 7 to that raid. And, regardless of what A's decides to do with his 600 wood, whether or not he decides to build a town center, truth be told, Mito losing so many villagers here is I think going to be the nail in the coffin. There's just
here it is.
nothing he's going to be able to do to recover that economic disparity at this point in the game.
A's must love this TP thing because he already likes to build towers that, in my opinion, don't do that much. But these are like way better than building towers.
So refresh me on. Do you happen to know what the economic value that they do add is, like the numbers off the top of your head?
I think it's like 5% or something per TP, or 3% or something. I think it might be 5. So they probably it's the equivalent of having like a 10% bonus on the gold mine, I think.
Yeah. One thing that I want to point out that I somewhat recently noticed, and seeing the most recent shipment from Mito kind of prompted me to remember it again. Through a lot of that fighting, A's had the cavalry damage card sent, and certainly powers up his bow riders, makes them very, very strong. And Mito just sending that now. So, one of those 20% cards that gets sent, late in the game, after your opponent has already sent it, is definitely playing catch up as well. So, a little bit of a bow rider fight it looks like we've cycled into here now, but if you take a look at the numbers, A's with 22 bow riders, Mito with only 16, and unfortunately, he still has to fight. He has
10 vills.
Yeah, his villagers are very exposed. The ones that he does have remaining are very exposed.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think he's really. The tables have definitely turned quite hard. I thought this was quite a hard position for A's to come back from, but he's managed to do it somehow. Those raids just totally throwing Mito off. off keel and forcing Mitoe into these pushes he didn't really want to take, I guess.
Yeah. And you know, I would like to go back to the point where I think we mentioned the path forward for Mitoe was maybe 700 wood controlling the TP line and just letting A's starve in his base and not really needing to do much more than that. And unfortunately for him, that, you know, he made, I think, a couple untimely pushes into the base, and we show just how good Defender's Advantage really is in Age of Empires 3, and A's doing a really good job of, you know, abusing the fact that villagers can soak a lot of damage, and that war huts do fire, and TC fire is quite strong, 90 damage per shot. And you know, it's really easy to get good surrounds when your opponent is overcommitted into tight alleyways built into your base, and A's doing a good job of defending. And if I will say one thing that I've noticed about A's through all the years of watching him is he is really good at defending. He's really good at popping out units and knowing how to make the most of his defense.
Yeah, I agree completely, and it's because he does these kind of wonky strategies where I almost feel like if you feel like you're in a solid lead against A's, what you should just do is avoid anything that units can pop out of, and then you're pretty much good to go. Like you can't really lose from there because that's how he wins a lot of his games.
I thought you were gonna say if you think you're in a winning position against A's, just try and get to H5 as quickly as you can, and like just get spies or something, because like there's probably something weird going on and you're not aware of it.
Right, exactly. It's just so easy to lose to a bunch of stuff popping out of a TC or a villager fighting and all these other things. It's just Defender's Advantage is huge in this game, so.
Yeah. Mitoe is sneaking his way around, but wouldn't you know it, the TC that A's has popped up, he's shipped some bison to it and chopping wood around there as well, and so he's actually got quite a bit of resources.
No gold, though. No gold.
This gold mine is fairly close, given the proximity of his army, kind of just sieging its way through the middle of the map. Is relatively
too, but he hasn't gathered from it yet. That's what confuses me. Like he's not mining on that mine for some reason. He's been chopping wood with about 5 or 6 vills, and everything else has been on food. And I'm only worried that the bow rider count gap seems to be closing.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's 22 to 24.
No. Yes.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. The bow rider count is kind of closing. Both sides are powered up now as well, with the cavalry damage card having been sent. A is going to lose a few more villagers, and perhaps this is Mitoe's way back into the game if he can, you know, somehow get some more villagers killed. I don't think he'll ever have the resources to age up, but he's just going to have to be very good with how he uses his bow riders and be very careful with them.
He's got to. If he doesn't get out of here, this could be game. But if he does, then we still have a shot here.
Yeah, I don't.
Run! But he attack moved, and there was a vill there. He was hoping just to attack with the explorer, and that's going to cost him like 5 bow riders.
Yeah, and that's going to be pretty tough. One of the important things to note is, you know, not only the bow rider counts are fairly close, but A's does also have 15 Seton bows, which when you're, you know, fighting with equal bow rider numbers, sure, they, you know, aren't nearly as mobile, and the bow riders will run around and outpace each other and do that kind of stuff. But there it is, game number 1, going over to A's, fighting himself out of a fairly tough position and ending up with the W.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I thought for sure this game was just in such a tough spot, but those raids really turned it around. So.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the post game very quickly. Resources gathered very, very close. Mitoe did have a slight advantage in terms of resources. I think given all the time that A's was spending in his town center, that's reasonable to expect. But certainly, you know, if you consider XP as a resource and having that trading post for the entirety of the game, or at least the early game, a big difference. All right, let's back on out to ESO and get going on game number 2. So game number 1, Sioux mirror going in the favor of A's. And as I work my way back out to chat, I see a Team A's room has been started over in the ESO lobby. Sorry, tough to speak. And poor Mitoe doesn't have any fans cheering him on in the lobby.
Where when I left, Mitoe said he thought that A's only had like about 10 villagers, or very few villagers left when he was making those pushes. So I think he was probably surprised by just like the amount of stuff A's was able to keep producing.
Yeah. All right. So can you refresh me on the rules? So game number 1, Sioux Mirror. I believe you said it had to be a native matchup, or native mirror, or native something.
Native matchup. Yeah, and then so there's no like now all the civs are still on the table. The winner has to pick first, and when you pick first, you pick a native civ.
Okay.
And then your opponent has 3 European civs or Asian civs they can choose from in response to that. So what it does, it allows us to see natives being played against other things other than just like pure native mirrors, which would be incredibly boring. To just keep watching that same matchup. And at the same time, it lets us see almost every matchup possible for all these different natives. It gives us more diversity.
That's kind of that's a cool rule set. I like that.
I think it's pretty good too. Let me find the actual matchups real quick.
Of course, me, ever the hopeful broadcaster, hoping we'll get to see some like Japan Euro action or something like that. I think that would be kind of fun to watch. Just because I've told away on that matchup on RE Patch countless times, and I'm sure it's quite different here, but it would be fun to see.
Yeah, so I'm sending you a message in Skype if that's all right. That has the matchups.
Yeah, we were discussing briefly before this, and so I installed the new version of OBS when I set up my computer when I moved. And and unlike you, who's currently using like the pre-alpha version of OBS, the new version like has got, obviously, well, I'm sure everyone knows this, has got like the ability to like capture just the game screen or whatever, which the like very first version that I still had installed from all those years ago didn't have. And so now I can like freely tab out and like keep the game up on like in front and be able to like do various different things in between the game. It's kind of great. All right, so the rule is player A chooses a native civilization. Player B must then choose Portuguese, India, or Spain. And if player A chooses Euro, player B must choose Dutch, German, or French. So is this a locked-in pool? If player A chooses native Civ A Aztec, for example, they have to choose from this pool. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the native civ always gets picked first.
Okay, gotcha. So I guess it'll be on the winner A's to pick his native civilization, and then we'll narrow down the map pool from there, or civ pool from there that Mitoe has to take as an options.
Yep, and A's has chosen Sioux, which leaves us with Russia, Japan, or Spain.
Okay. Okay, cool. I'd like to see Spain played. I think that would be kind of interesting, but maybe Japan would be fun too. I don't know.
You'll never turn down a good Japan.
I don't think I'll ever vote against Japan, but I think Mitoe will pick Spain. That's just me. That's just my thinking. And I'm also happy to report that I dropped 0 frames during that game. I was briefly concerned because when I was setting up and testing everything, I was having some frame drop issues, and I thought maybe it was my ISP doing weird things. And then I tabbed over to another Chrome window that I realized I still had open, and there's like 4 1080p streams all playing at the same time. And I'm like, oh, like that probably will do it if you're trying to stream and watch 4 streams all at the same time. So
yeah, right, exactly. First world problems right there.
That's right.
You're just rubbing it in.
That's right. All right, so it looks like A's, as you mentioned, has chosen Sioux. Mitoe still reflecting on his maybe some of his misfortunes in the previous game. We'll see what he selects. I'm thinking personally that it's going to come down to Japan or Spain for him.
Yeah, I think so.
But between those two, I'm not sure which he'll pick. I don't.
I just gotta say real quick, this guy in the chat, Imperial Knob, Mito should have feared the Bison Pop.
Classic Bison Pop. Oh, and he's gonna go against the Grand. It looks like he's gonna be playing Russian.
More wrong.
Great job, Zutazuta. On point as always.
I have no idea how this plays out, but I don't know how almost any of these matches play out anymore. I haven't played them in so long.
I know how it used to play out. I know it used to play out that Sioux would just build only Axe Riders, and there was very little Russia could do to beat it.
Yeah, I remember that too.
But I suspect things have changed with some of the recent changes. I do expect we'll still see Axe Riders. I do expect we'll still see a lot of Axe Riders, but with some of the changes and buffs to some of the way that the War Hunt units can build TPs and some of the economic things that Sioux have got going on for them, and some of the changes that have been made to the Russian start, we'll perhaps see something a little bit more dynamic than the old pure musket versus pure axe riders, and somehow the pure axe rider still wins.
Yeah, exactly. I think it will be a combination of axe rider and bow rider for sure.
Yeah. Do you think that, and certainly 6 set and bow is going to be helpful for dealing with like any sort of early musket pressure, but I'm very curious to see as to whether or not there will be a war hunt involved from like the early build, or maybe it gets mixed in with 700 wood at some point or something like that. But anyways, here we go. Game number 2 going to be played on ESOC Klondike. Match number 2, game number 1 going over to A's, and he's going to be playing down here in the 8 o'clock position. In the color blue is going to be A's. And in the 2 o'clock position, up in the upper right-hand portion of the map, playing the Russian civilization is going to be his opponent, Mitoe. Sioux versus Russia, we've talked about a little bit, but this is a matchup that used to be fairly one-sided and fairly in favor of Sioux. And I'm interested to see how it plays out here on the new patch.
Yeah, me too. I would like to just make one bold prediction, because if I'm wrong, who cares? I think A's might do Axe Rider opener into Morningstar convert and then start making Axe Riders.
That's
because, like why not? Right?
And knowing A's, that's certainly something that's running through his mind right now. It's like when
I were playing A's, that's what I would be considering. Like the first thing I'm gonna do is check his deck to see if it has that card in it. I'm just trying to like corner out as many of the weird things he can do and understand what could be coming.
Look for strange H2 cards and see how you can like craft a strategy around it. That's I think sometimes A's go-to play. But once again, A is going to be having the Sioux WarChief. And we all know how pesky it is to deal with the Sioux WarChief in Age 1. If there is a more annoying WarChief or Explorer unit in Age 1, I can't think of it off the top of my head. Certainly there are other strong, WarChiefs and Explorer type units in the game, but I think the Sioux WarChief in particular tops my list of most annoying Age 1 units to deal with.
Yeah, I would agree completely. I wonder if A's going to make this pass. If he is, it's really well timed.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very close. We'll take a look.
He's going to get her? No? Nope.
Oh,
he literally missed
just
to convert that wolf. So close.
And A's knows it, dropping the HM period in chat. That's unfortunate. Of course, for people that aren't aware, certainly the Travois man, as he works his way down the long path on the south portion of the map here, he drops off XP as he goes by the TPs, and as a result of missing that very first pass of XP, Ace is going to have to wait for significantly longer here to get the next pass. Mitoe, in fact, just starting to build his TP, and worth noting, has sent ATP. Just building his TP now is probably going to get a passive XP before his opponent, despite the fact that he made it, almost a full minute and a half later than A's did.
Mitoe calling out his really slow age up time that's coming.
Okay. Is he probably going with a like a 17 bill age up? In fact, yeah, I mean.
Oh, I love it. Russia going. I know why my Mitoe did this. He's going for the ATP build.
Yeah.
That's so smart, actually.
Can you explain to those of us, myself included, who might not know what's going on right now, what you Well, so obviously I know what ATP does. It makes TPs defensible in that they have a small attack and makes them cheaper in cost. And I didn't look around at the early game. Did he perhaps chop wood? It doesn't look like he chopped extra wood. Maybe he chopped a little bit of extra wood for being able to get the TP in H1. Is that what he did?
He didn't chop any extra wood. He basically just sent ATP, which makes the TP only cost 120 wood. I think he got treasure or something.
Okay.
Maybe he chopped a little bit. But what's nice about sending ATP is because that's the wood triple card Russians typically send. It's not very strong compared to 3 bills. He can send it. He can send it after ATP, like what he just did.
Okay.
And then it's not behind at all, and he just has ATP, and then he can spend the goal. The new push in the meta really that I've been very interested in is in transition, just 100% chopping wood and building as many TPs as you can. Like knowing that if you can get stagecoach right away, it basically pays off like right away, and then you can just never chop wood again. Like with this kind of a build. You won't chop wood again after your first set of chopping wood. Everything will come from stagecoach, TPs, or crates, and you can just go 100% food. So you can go.
Yeah, and certainly, especially with a civilization like Russia, where markets are going to be a little more rare, and certainly getting gang saw is going to be a bit burdensome and something that you don't necessarily want to do. And look at Mitoe, racing ahead with the TPs. Oh no, and Az took a wrong turn.
Completely. You wouldn't have made it anyway because the Vil is smartly putting up the other TP, but Ace just completely boxed out of the TP line right now, and he even chopped for it. And so, like, you just look at like what's on Ace's plate. He got up, he fast aged up. He's gonna have stable up, and just so long as Mitoe doesn't overextend, like with his villagers too far forward trying to herd hunts, he's really not gonna be able to take much damage at all. And he can just kind of build a block right here and just kind of set up and let the stagecoach come in because. It's really hard for a Sioux to kill these 4,000 sweets.
Yeah, agree with that completely. Now the next thing on Aze's mind then has to be is what do I do to follow it up? You're going to be playing against a fairly defensive Russian player who's got a block host back at home. He's not stretching himself overly thin. He's got little segments of walls already coming up here to the north side of the map that's going to help at the very least funnel A's into predictable paths when it comes to raiding paths, and he's going to be able to stretch the cavalry units very, very thin. If you consider how far away this location for helping control some of the economic output that Mitoe's going to have is from the rest of his base, that's very, very noticeable.
Yeah, Ace is going to do 5 vil, probably 700 gold age up or something like that. Something. Let's look at his deck. He'll do something economic based, and he's only made 3 bow riders because he's identified exactly what we just said, which is that with the way the base is built, honestly, killing this one build that Mitoe's left hanging behind would be like a blessing for him with those 3 bow riders. He's not going to be able to do anything else with them.
Did you see Mitoe? He's testing the efficiency of his wall over here with his villager. I saw him going walking back and forth in between that little gap, trying to figure out whether or not it was leak proof. And I think unfortunately that villager's come to the realization that he's got work yet to do over here on the north side of the map to make sure that he's got all the holes sewed up and no axe riders or bull riders are going to be coming through those wall segments.
Yeah, and I'm just keeping an eye on the cart right now. It just upgraded. Didn't it? Where'd it go? No, it didn't. I was gonna say when it upgrades, it'll be really huge to see just like how fast the upgrade gets in because that's basically Mitoe's entire economy right now.
Yeah, flipping over to the text being researched, there it comes.
There it is. And so we just got 3 passes of XP on that DP, and now he's pulling in any resource he wants. On the other hand, as we said, A's is going for that 5 vil 700 gold age up. So really, I'm interested to see, is A's just going to go for a lot of can cav and just try to slowly creep the TP line back while massing cav? I think that would probably be a smart choice. But we'll see what he opts to do.
Yeah. Mitoe, on the other hand, interesting to me, sending 700 gold and building Strelets. So this is something that I've been wondering, whether or not he might be considering. Does he have the turn all my use all my ranged infantry to muskets card in his deck? He does not. Okay. I just wanted to check, just because, you know, that could be a potential build choice that he could maybe do. If he were A's, I would be thinking maybe it was more likely, but looks like it's just going to be able to deal with some of these bow rider raids that looks like he's expecting.
Yeah, and here comes the 7 club shipment. He covered more of the 1 club that is being shot at. We'll see if Mitoe notices. He does not, so that's going to be quite nice for him. And meanwhile, I mean, now as we said, A's going to start creeping back that TP line, and all of a sudden it's like, you know, it's 2 TVs to 3. It's not that big of an economic lead for Mitoe. And he looks like he's actually invested. He's got to be building Cossacks.
Yeah, I think he's going to be looking to play this out in Age 2.
It's C8. I'm so dumb. He's aging up. He's going to start making bow riders and strelets, which I think is the right composition.
Yeah, you're right. You can see him slowly aging up. In fact, both players aging up. Mitoe is aging with the Exiled Prince, and the Wise Woman age up is coming for A's. Minutemen being called just to help deal with a little bit of this pressure. Looks like he doesn't want to cave into his position at all, doesn't want to risk losing the stable as it's going up. And so he's just going to call the Minutemen, secure his position a little bit more. But, like you mentioned, A's doing a good job down here, cover moding the club taking damage and being able to slowly but surely pull down some of these trading posts. And, oh, is he going to get it? Oh, not quite.
Yeah.
But
I mean, and if you think if Mitoe had retasked his damage to the right clubs, he could have killed 6 clubs for 120 wood TP.
Yeah.
Like, imagine trading a full 700 resource shipment for a house. That's basically what he just done. But as it stands, A's able to get 2 TPs in the line, and it's really split 3-2 right now, and it's really hard for either player to get to the next ones. So I don't anticipate this balance changing too much. Interesting. 5 Cav Archers when you have a double stable build? I would maybe 1,000 better.
Yes, especially when it doesn't seem like your opponent is applying any pressure, right? Maybe the 5 Cav Archers is a little bit more reasonable if you're facing some immediate pressure, but like you've mentioned, I don't know that slowly losing your TPs is a big enough call to action to be shipping units at this point, especially when, you know, 5 Cav Archers certainly isn't 5 Dragoons. It's not quite on par with the power level, and but at the same time, maybe he does want to start recontesting this TP line and getting it back in his favor as well.
Yeah, and it's really good that he pushed A's off of this TP. Unfortunately, he did not see these 6 vills over here. It would have been quite nice to catch those, but really, he's got a huge military advantage here. A's only having 3 bow riders that can 3 units on the entire map that can contest the 15 Cav Archers that are soon to be in total coming out of the stable. There they are.
Yeah. And take a look at the next shipment sent for A's as well, 1,000 wood.
Hunting. He is hunting for the vills, but he just can't find them. Yeah. He knows they're out there.
Looks like we're going to be playing a little game of chicken. Certainly, Mitoe running in the wrong direction at this point. But at the same time, you don't necessarily have to kill vills for it to be an effective raid. If you can put your opponent on edge enough that you can just make the vills wander around and stand in idle positions for a while, you know, that's a close second to killing the villager, certainly.
Yeah, it's absolutely been effective. And here we talk again about how hard it is to build infrastructure with this civilization. It's going to take him so long to get that war hut up, and then even then he's got to somehow catch up with this huge Cav Archer mass. More units getting picked off here, and I would hope. Is he going for the pinch? Okay, I was wondering if he's going to take out that TP anytime soon, because really he could get the whole line back in this position.
Yeah, and I think that would be beneficial to him. He does. He has his Explorer over here in the mix as well, high HP.
At least with the infantry, right? Like just park them on the TP. Yeah. They're never gonna catch anything. Those 2 Falcons could honestly take out the remaining Cav from A's because the 2 bow riders are so low. Like first volley takes out both Cav, and then the second volley takes out the Axe Rider.
2 villagers did get killed here in the middle portion of the map. Ace is in the Industrial Age. I did not actually see that coming. That was a big miss for me. And
me neither. I did not see that at all.
Let's take a look.
What we talked about, right?
Yeah. Let's take a look at what he's got. He's got command skill. You know, I will say the 16 Wakinas and 18 Wakinas. It's interesting to bring up that point because you were just talking about how it's going to be difficult for him to get an infantry advantage, and I'll tell you one way he could maybe get an infantry advantage is by shipping 40 skirms, because you know he has had these 2 TPs, and if he's kept them on XP and he's got, a bounty of XP available, that could be a really good way for him to swing his way into a big infantry advantage. And there comes the first one, 18 Wakina rifles.
He's got the 2 Falcons out too, though. I mean, this is the same as last game, where it's like, I feel like Mitoe's look at 86 to 27. Like, Mitoe should be able to literally make any decision where he's using his army right now, and he should win. Except for standing at where it is.
I do want to point out, though, that Ace has gotten the champion upgrade. Certainly that champion upgrade, very, very cheap for the Sioux in the 4th Age. And if he sends the next batch of Wakinas and, has some way to deal with the 2 Falconets, I think those are going to be an important thing for him to neutralize early in the fight when he's got such an infantry-heavy and infantry-focused approach to this game. But should he get into a good position with, a couple axe riders or bow riders or something, and is able to eliminate them early in the fight, it's gonna be a lot of damage coming from these 50+ Wakina rifles.
Yeah, I think Mitoe's just a little bit nervous after getting owned so hard by the raids last game. He's like afraid to really move.
Yeah.
And he really needs to be down here defending his position. But I think he wanted to wait for the wall to come up, and he's also building more cannons probably, right? What did he say?
Does he have an artillery foundry?
Yeah, here, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I'm surprised he's just letting this go.
Yeah.
Military population.
Ace is going to have another shipment here popping out in just a moment, and I would not be.
We and I both know exactly what this is.
It's got to be 16.
It's not going to be command skill. I'll tell you that.
I would be very surprised. And a great volley there from the Wakinas, getting 2 Cav archers for free.
2 Cav combat.
Yeah.
Finally, this market gets cleared out too. This is providing so much information for Ace. He knows exactly when he can be on the line and when he can't be. And now he knows exactly how big.
There comes the 16 Wakinas as well. And the 2 Falcons are certainly scary, but there are just so many Wakina rifles out right now. 54 Wakina rifles. If Ace controls them well and continues to kite, he's got a very formidable army at this point in the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's really going to come down to just how well these 4 Falcons can engage, and it would be kind of nice to champion bow riders in too. I was going to say it might be nice to see some Cav, but I guess the bow rider kind of starting to trickle up a bit as well.
Does he have the card available, the one that makes your war chief like really insanely good against artillery? Okay.
And it's pretty expensive though.
Okay.
Oh, he has it. Battle anger, I think. Here it comes. 1, 2 Falcons go down.
Oh, wow.
I don't know why. I was thinking the same thing. Like, I'm not sure why I built cannons against.
Yeah, and with the splash damage too, the other one took a lot of damage, and
I mean, he's just gonna res it right now at the fire pit. He's putting 10 bills on it. It's like we've all played Treaty before. I know exactly how this works.
Yeah, we've all seen how some of these little tips and tricks work. There he comes. He's back up in the mix. H2O with the tips and tricks. And let's battle anger. I wish I could take a look at what it actually does. It looks like his hand attack has a 10x multiplier against artillery. He's just gonna run him right through the army. just
upgrade on fire pit. He's got 2.
Unbelievable.
Good luck ever killing that. I like the like that.
Yeah.
Explorer lives.
The Explorer lives as well. Unbelievable. Look at that tank. 461 HP remaining after literally just trapezing through Mitoe's entire army and taking full damage for, I don't know, 10 seconds. And now Mitoe has to be a bit concerned because I think his out against the insane massive champion Wakina rifles was going to be artillery. And now with the combination of the fire pit and the war chief having such good efficiency at killing those cannons, Mitoe's going to have a difficult time coming up with an answer to this insane army. And look at the shipments continuing to come really hot and heavy here. 8 axe riders coming in as well.
The advantage that Mitoe does have, though, is that he does have Cav combat, he does have the Strelic combat card, and he also, honestly, I mean, he does still have, well, not anymore, I guess. At one point he did have more units, but I don't know. He's got to come up with some sort of a surprise here when A's, and hope that he can catch A's overextending a little bit here into his base.
I mean, look at the X Riders coming in here now. A's rounding out his composition, and he's getting the all of the Axe Rider upgrades. He's already got the Elite upgrade, and now he's getting the Champion upgrade as well. I just don't know what Mitoe can realistically do, especially if Ace puts all of his units onto the Fire Pit to dance with War Dance. I mean, with the Siege Dance, everything's going to go down very, very quickly, and with a combination of Champion upgrades plus the War Pit, there's just going to be so much damage coming out of this army for Ace. I don't know how Mitoe can possibly hope to hold.
Popping from behind, and this is it. We'll see what he can do.
Yeah, big fight, good positioning for Ace. Decent positioning here from Mitoe, getting some of the Cossacks into the mix as well. Waiting from the backside here to see whether or not the two stables can get any Cossacks. Cossacks coming out, unfortunately, from one of the stables popping into the wrong direction. Dog Soldiers coming forward as well for A's. Going to be added into the mix. A lot of the Champion Rifle Riders, or Wakina Rifles, still alive. 39 still alive. And, you know, as long as the split is decently well, I think A's is going to be able to clean up most of this. Mitoe is getting some of his Axe Riders into the backside, which is pretty nice. Going to be able to clean up a lot of that ranged infantry, but the Dog Soldiers getting their way into the front as well, starting to deal with a lot of the ranged units that Mitoe has. Mitoe actually doing an okay job here of holding. I think, for what it's worth, this is about the best that he probably could have hoped for. You know, A's. Yeah, I think at this point, you know, his economy is going to be enough to carry him. More Cossacks just popping out, and if you take a look at the economic unit population, actually A's is ahead. But Mitoe has had, you know, a couple of those TPs going for quite some time. Had a pretty nice TP advantage for a while, but actually Mitoe holding that, despite the fact that all of the upgrades did get in there. Was that just a positioning issue there from A's? Ryan, are you dead?
Hey, you had some pretty bad cutout in the middle of that fight for me. I'm sure everyone else was able to hear it, but I think somehow or another Mitoe has managed to survive that. I was very surprised to see that.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, now he's out throwing out blockhouses. And remember, A's built that army off the back of a lot of very like military shipments, right? And with those being gone, his bill's escaping again. But
yeah,
hopefully, if those get caught, this could be quite a game changer.
Yeah.
There's X Riders coming, not Bow Riders, which means that the Operies here are going to have a lot of time to just kind of go ham on these bills.
But one thing that I
usually killed 10 bills here.
Yeah, one thing I was calling out just before this fight was that the economic unit population is actually in A's favor, and he's got a 3 TP to 2 TP advantage. Plus, he's in the 4th age as well. So, despite the fact that you're right, you know, certainly a little bit of call for concern, I actually think that with all the upgrades that A's has, the units he's going to be able to get out are just going to be so much stronger. Look at how strong these Axe Riders are in this fight.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I'm wondering too if we want to see. He's already sent 8. He's sent the 7 Axe Rider 1,000 golden mark shipment. I'm wondering if the next thing isn't just cap combat, and then you get into that position where your units are just way stronger than Russia's units are, and Russia just never kills anything.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at the scores, it's pretty. Mitoe's in a pretty dire position.
One thing you do have to remember is that a lot of A's score is baked into techs as well.
That's true. He did big. He's got the big button upgrade for the Dog Soldiers and all the other things. You're right.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of his score is somewhat misleading, but you know, certainly he does have a big tech advantage.
Yeah. I mean, this could be a really good trade for him, but okay, he gets away and only loses 1 dog. He needed this trade to be a huge trade.
Yeah. Look at this here as well. I think Mitoe knows that if this raid gets into full effect, looks like he didn't quite see it, but
Mitoe's going for his own cash money raid, though.
Yeah, and he knows those villagers are down there. Certainly, this is probably I'm surprised that Sioux isn't okay with just doing this, you know, like big raid, counter raid type gameplay here.
This will be interesting though. If he throws up a couple of TPs, I don't know how much these things cost. They cost like 50 wood, right? He could throw up another one. And those almost force you to run away because the units are just so strong when they get next to him.
Yeah, and Mitoe doing just that. Retreating his army back to the west. Looks like he's going to get a couple units picked off, but going to get away with most of his army. Although more units here flanking him from the side. Mitoe's resigned. Calls GG. Was there something else that happened? I guess he was losing most of his starlet down here to the south side, and the economic unit population was continuing to get away from him. But
Yes.
yeah, I think A is calling out the big deciding factor there. The efficiency of the war chief killing those falconets was just absolutely game changing.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is kind of the same story as last game in many ways, right? I mean, Mitoe probably had the build advantage lead in most of the early game, and he like at one point it was 20 military population to over 100, and there was just zero presence on the map that entire time. And I think that if you give someone as much time as they want to just go straight industrial with no pressure on them, they're going to have a pretty strong timing push, which is exactly what we saw with those 18-16 Wakina shipments.
Yeah, and take a look at the military unit population graph at 15 minutes. Mitoe, the Russian player is probably always going to have an advantage in terms of sheer population, but take a look at what happens at 15 minutes. He goes from 122 to 84, which is losing, 4 falconets or whatever will do that to you. And A is not a blip on the radar. I mean, he gained two pop and lost 3. I mean, effectively breaks even, right? I mean, there was nothing that happened for the cost of 40 plus military population, and not just population, but expensive, hard to replace units, and units that are critical to your strategy, units that are going to help you win, in dealing with all of those Wakina rifles. And moving forward from that point, just had a really tough time dealing with the tech advantage that A's had over his opponent.
Yeah, and I almost wish that he would that those I'm just kind of thinking back now, what if those cannons had stayed in the base a bit more, and he had just used his cav archer mobility. You don't think of that too often against Sioux, but I mean A's army at that point in the game was 78, and it was like 60 Wakina and like 7 boat riders or 8 boat riders. Like what if he had just ran his cav archers around, kind of like what happened to him in game 1. And really made it hard for A's to gather. Maybe then the Falcons would have been more useful.
Either way, he got nothing out of the Falconets, right? I don't think they even unpacked and got one shot off against anything useful. And the interesting point would have been if he could have made better use of the resources that he sunk into that. Would he have won the fight that followed, or would he have had the confidence to engage in a fight that would have allowed him to use that military population advantage to secure the map and win the game? And I think that's the big deciding point, and we never got a chance to see that from the Russian side.
Yeah, absolutely. It was I've never seen the matchup play out this way, and I think it was kind of cool to see. This is the point of the tournament. I think is just to see kind of some new things come out as some of these players who haven't been forced to play these native civs are doing different things, and people are responding to those things differently as well. I mean, I don't think we've ever seen, at least the common strategy is definitely not to age up against Russia, and it's definitely not common to ATP as Russia against Sioux.
Yeah, I mean, if I think back to when I was playing actively, if you were playing Russia and you got Sioux in quick search, you shipped your wood trickle and put down a super aggressive forward base and tried to stop the stable from ever getting up. That was basically the strategy, and certainly that was not the way that this matchup played out. And I don't know that that's a bad thing. I thought this was actually a pretty entertaining game to watch, and I really liked the big tech advantage that A's built up and then used to his advantage to win the game.
Yeah, me too. I think it was really interesting, and it was nice to see something new.
Yeah, certainly. So A's as the winner of that matchup. Now, does he select another native civ, or
it's alternating? So now Mitoe has to pick.
Okay, so Mitoe selects a native civilization, and then we go back to the counter civ selections, where if Mitoe chooses Aztec, A's must choose Port, India, or Spain. If Mitoe chooses Iroquois, A's must select Dutch, German, or French. And if Mitoe selects Sioux, A's must select Russia, Japan, or Spain.
Exactly, and I think my gut tells me that Mitoe will choose Iro.
Okay.
Just inexperienced. Like Mitoe really has been. Last time I played with Mitoe, which bear in mind was over a month ago. I can't remember the last time. He was having a lot of fun with Eero, and I think he's one of the few people. I think of him. I think of Diaroga and Garjar, the only people I know of that actually have been playing any Eero on the fan patch. So it's very possible we'll see an Eero here.
And I think if that happens, and let's make bold predictions. So let's assume Mitoe is playing Eero. Last time we made bold predictions, by the way, you called the Morning Star Rush, and it didn't work out. But
you called every civ but Russia, and
so we're very clearly quite good at predictions. But let's predict.
Coming off. Let's keep going.
If you're picking Eero, I am going to go with. I think French is too cliche. That's too like Eero and French. Like those are the civil pick. So I'm going to say that Azo play German, and not only does he pick German, but he does his like German Tower FF. That's my bold prediction.
Okay, I'll allow it.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. All right. Step number 1. We're back on track.
All right. Now I'm betting 50% here.
Come on, German.
I think you're right, but I almost wonder if it's not going to be like a Mark FI or something.
I think he's gonna do the thing where he like builds the 2 towers in his base and like FFs and.
Yeah,
I remember
saying I know he loves building towers. So.
I remember the first time I saw him do that on SmackDown. He literally just plopped 2 towers down in his base when there was no aggression coming. I'm like why is he doing this? And then there was like a timing push that came and like he held it with the 2 towers. I'm like, oh, all right, well like I guess that worked out. And he just likes that. Have been told German is a free win. Okay, here we go. Oh, Dutch. Shoot. Right. There goes the. There goes.
You're still 0%. Tom.
Yeah.
A little bit more rust to scrape off before you start.
That's all right. All right. Well.
It just goes to show how important it is to be in touch with the community if you're like a top player, because you need to know like what these people will be thinking and what they'll be picking when you're trying to prepare for these matchups.
But I don't know that Mitoe and A's have necessarily prepared. They don't. Usually if you've prepared, you know what your situations are, and you just like after game X, you execute plan Y, right? Like you know your next civilization is Eero, and you just immediately lock it in.
Yeah, I mean these guys. I would agree these guys probably haven't done that, but just as a general rule of thumb, like both of us being so out of touch, we're not even close.
We're a couple of angry old men sitting on our porches yelling at these young whippersnappers.
Yeah, exactly. How dare they pick Dutch into Iroquois? Back in my day, we would never have done that silly thing.
I'll have you know. But it looks like it is going to be Dutch versus Eero on ESOC Arizona. Here we go, launching into the game. Game number 3. A is currently leading at 2-0. We'll see if Mitoe can claw his way back into the series and pick up a win with the Iroquois civilization. A is going to be playing in the color blue. He's going to be playing the Dutch civilization, and he's going to be spawning down the 6 o'clock position at the south side of the map. And his opponent playing the Iroquois civilization is going to be Mitoe playing in the north side of the map, up here in the 12 o'clock position. Like we mentioned, the map is Arizona, which has got this very large plateau in the middle portion of the map and a kind of horizontal running trading route. A's mentioning his coin mine is really far out front. I don't know what the rules are in terms of reselecting the maps, but certainly Dutch is pretty reliant on the coin, and I don't know. Do you know whether or not he can?
I do not. Let me consult the people who do know. I believe it's on us to decide.
Yeah, and if we can, I would agree with him that his gold mine is ridiculously far in front of his base.
Yeah, and I didn't really want to get into the rules of it, just knowing these two players would be both making the right decision, right? So I didn't expect there to be any chance for mine to restart for a gold mine issue.
No, certainly not. And both of these guys, good friends and really good sports when it comes to playing the game. They not only want to play the game to have fun, but they want to play the game to provide a competitive environment that people can enjoy watching. So looks like we're going to restart here and just make Mitoe mentioning that he had a dream start, but here we go, relaunching into game number 3. Score still the same. Although Mitoe did resign, I guess you could chalk up an extra win for A's there. Maybe that's A's way of sneaking his way to a quick victory. Complain about your gold mine and then wait for your opponent to resign. That's a common strategy, I think. Alright, here we go. Yeah, launching back in, I will update the scoreboard here in a second. It's currently 2-0. Spawning in the south side of the map in the color blue, playing the Dutch civilization is A's. Has his coin mine, I think, in a much more preferable position this time around, spawning there right to the back side of his TC. And his opponent, Mitoe, spawning in the north side of the map, playing in the teal color as the Iroquois civilization. Mitoe probably mentioning the crate starts as part of the issue here, that he was
Yes.
the,
No.
Yeah, the crate start is a big difference, because obviously the gold crate is quite helpful for Dutch.
Yeah, and the extra wood crate is quite helpful for Eero if you're considering doing things that involve getting
Yes.
TPs and stuff like that as well. So a little bit unfortunate there, but looks like Mitoe going to be a good sport.
Yes.
And I'm going to continue it along. It's not me. I don't think it's me, and it's not me, and I don't have Comcast.
Probably Mitoe. It's always Mitoe.
I dumped Comcast as my internet provider when I moved to my new place. I just had horrible experiences with them, like being a pretty crummy internet provider, and so I switched to something new. But that's neither here nor there. The Eero civilization, of course, does have the ability to convert units. It looks like Mitoe going to be working his way over here to this 50 wood treasure. Going to pick up a wolf, or a coyote rather, the weaker of the two of the wolf family, and going to be able to pick up that 50 wood.
Yep, and luckily for the Dutch player here, Mitoe hasn't run into anything that has a rifleman on it, and I actually don't think there's any riflemen on this map, so obviously the rifleman being by far the strongest unit for explorer combat, and Eddie Holland over here getting a little bit beaten up.
Yeah, he's getting really beaten up trying to take on those alligators. What caused him to lose all that HP? What else did
I was
he
looking
get?
back, and I think he's only just gotten a 60 wood, which is also 2 crocodiles. So I think he may have just horribly mismanaged. He horribly mismanaged how he handled those first 2.
I'm gonna put on my Zuta complains hat here. This is still something that has always bothered me. I'm perfectly fine with people exploring with their war hut, but especially in the TP meta, and as a civilization that's likely going to build TPs, why would you put like such an easy to siege house right next to a TP? It's just like it's such an easy opportunity for your opponent to get free value out of their armory positioning in like the mid game.
Yeah, and I think people just don't get punished enough for doing it. Meaning, like in many games, assuming all goes well, you shouldn't be using control of that corner of the map as Eero. But if things do start getting it all kind of crazy, it's something you'll regret, right?
Yeah, like it would take an extra 5 seconds to walk it back to this corner and just build it back here or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think sometimes people don't have the foresight to be like, oh crap, we're about to get housed with my shipment, I need to drop this house now, and they just kind of drop it wherever they are.
Yeah, but either way, both players now working their ways into the next age. Mitoe is going to be aging with the Wise Woman as the Eero civilization, which will provide him with a couple extra crates, a little bit of economic power to get himself going here in the second age. And aging with the Quartermaster. Realistically, there's probably no other option for the Dutch civilization. So wood dependent, and certainly, like we were mentioning, I think in the first game, with civilizations like Dutch and like Sioux, where a lot of your wood is calculated and built with shipments and crates and Asia politicians, you have to be very careful with how you spend your wood. So you can see A's cutting it off at a very appropriate level of wood, and going to be gathering that 400 wood up, and we'll see what he's got in the cards for him.
Yeah.
Looks like a... I thought it was a barracks. I looked at the foundation. That would be a completely reasonable thing to be expecting. And
I
then
like
you...
a single spy, actually. Let's see how that plays out. I mean, look where the WarChief is going, possibly for a second TP, very likely for a second TP, based on the way it's walking.
Unfortunately for him, Mitoe did scout it, so Mitoe will at least be aware of it and be able to be a little bit more careful with his WarChief. Of course, the church coming up does have the ability to train a spy, which as a military unit does have a massively large multiplier against WarChiefs and explorer type units. And if what he's trying to deny is the ability for his opponent to get a TP route established and some of that map presence in the middle portion of the map, this spy is certainly going to do just that. We can see, look at Mitoe just running all the way home. He knows that that spy is out there on the map, likely tooling around, checking out the various different TP sockets and looking for that WarChief and trying to kill him. And as a result, it looks like Mitoe's just going to run on home and head back. But here comes the spy, and unfortunately for him, because he was shooting the arm point.
Oh, there's nothing.
Yeah.
TC is nothing either.
Yeah.
Well, at least with 2 builds in it.
And there you go. There's the spy, the hitman for hire, with his 40x multiplier against heroes, takes down the WarChief in no time flat. And it looks like that church paying off. You know, he gets the 100 XP for killing the WarChief. He still has the 2 banks up, and now he's got the 700 wood coming in as well. So realistically, what do spies cost? 125? Is that still the case?
Yeah,
or?
125 coin, 2 pop, and the church costs 100 wood to build. So you're paying 100 wood, 125 gold to kill an explorer and get 100 XP, and then also have this insane amount of vision. If you put on Fog of War, you can just see how much control of the game you can get just by having a spy stall somewhere.
Yeah, certainly. I do have the Fog of War on, and you're right. You can basically see that whole pathway through the side of the map, and you'll see any raids that are likely coming, and be able to protect your military and your villagers as a result. 8 pikes coming in. It looks like A's perhaps a little bit concerned about whether or not there was going to be any raiding pressure, but at the same time can use those 8 pikes to go in.
You know what's about to happen there too.
I mean, I'm not saying I was right, but it looks like we're shaping up in 2 minutes to see both a TP and a free house both go down, because if you look at the military compositions, there are 7 Kanya horsemen, and that is it. And realistically, they're not going to be able to deal with 8 Dutch pikemen. And so as a result, I think it's very likely that Mitoe loses not only the longhouse but also the TP, and probably there's not much that he can do to stop it at this point in the game. And
he lost his explorer again, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the explorer is down, and this is it's a tough situation. This is why, you know, I advocate for the house being in a more defensive position, because he's just going to lose it. And look, he's going to get housed. I mean, he is housed.
He queued up something too. He canceled it. He keeps queuing, canceling his shipment. So he was queuing up a shipment that was 7 or 8. That was 8 pops. He was queuing up 4 Kanya, and he canceled.
Yeah.
You can see it. Well, he just doesn't know what to send. He keeps canceling and resending. But he's so housed right now.
Here comes the big button tech Iroquois scouting party being researched right now, and it looks like, I don't know.
He's got go time. He's got to get into the base, because Ace is just going to age again.
Yeah, and if you take a look at the economies running behind us as well, A's now sending 700 coin. He does have the ability to age. He has the resources required, and like you mentioned, behind us, he's got the barracks established, so he's got a way to produce military units. He's got 4 banks, a market, and a TP. His economy is absolutely massive, and
I hope he fights these pikes. There we go. He's got to clear out some pikes before they all get grouped up together. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard for him to make anything happen here. And look at A's fast aging up. He's probably going to have to make 5 halbs and ship 9. He's got a shipment, so he'll be able to get 9 Reuters, but he can easily just make a couple of halbs here to hold.
Yeah, and realistically, Mitoe's composition outside of the Tomahawks from the Iroquois scouting party tech is entirely cavalry based, and that's actually really, really good, very beneficial for A's at this point. I think maybe this villager coming forward to try and get down maybe outside of hunting, also trying to get down some
Yes.
sort of a military structure, but A's is just in a terrific position here moving forward.
Yeah, I think Mito's got, like, if you look at what Mito just did, that means to me 100% he's got 600 coin on the way, and he's intending to age up with like a fast age up type of tech here, and just balance out his comp that way. You wouldn't run away with 20 cap from an EC like that, unless you had other.
Yeah, the War Chief getting down his crack shot ability, doing some damage to those pikes, picking off one of the pikes all by himself. Looks like he might even get a second one. The cavalry in hot pursuit here as well, going to be able to catch up with and deal with the pikes. Let's see how many Kanye that Mito might potentially lose as he works away with these pikes. One does go down. Looks like it's going to be oh no, he gets a second one there for his cause as well. So and
Really not bad for a pike in that position.
For a pike in that position being trapped, and not only that, but if you look at where that fight occurs, this is literally the furthest place from A's base that you could possibly pick, which gives him the huge added bonus of having extra time to build up the infrastructure. If we go back to the base, we've got a stable that has been established. The fort bank's still ticking away. The TP has not been contested, and now that he's got the Reuters up and some ability to move around the map, all of a sudden Mito just looking to be in a really, really awkward position.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, he's just got to wait until he's got this explorer, really important explorer move right here. It's forcing the units to have to really focus for everyone on Reuters, and it's buying a ton of time. And explorer goes down again for a game, like, that's just such a... Oh, and now he's staring the trap on it. Easily die. Is he going for it?
Yeah.
And Mito's jamming it himself. What's going on?
Yeah, that's so much XP that Ace has gotten off of killing that War Chief as well in a very short amount of time. Tomahawks coming forward here as well, going to be able to help push back the Reuters a little bit.
He's going to lose his warhead. Why would he's walking away from it? No. Huh? Yeah. He's going to lose it.
Yeah, unfortunately for him.
He really needs that warhead too.
Yeah, and the composition is getting better by the minute here for A's as well. He's got skirmishers starting to come into the mix. The Reuters, with their speed, really, there's not a great counter out there for them right now.
But there's such an opportunity there for Mito to catch him.
Yeah, the one thing I will say is because of this cliff and the positioning of the armies, there was a little bit of a chance, I agree, for Mito to just kind of backtrack and kill off that little army of 5 skirmishers and 3 pikemen with his horsemen, and buy himself a little bit more time just to eliminate some of the threat. But unfortunately that did not occur. Looks like A's perhaps going to be caught being a little greedy here with his explorer out in the middle of the map. Going to get his explorer away, but going to lose the trading post effort as well at the same time. And one thing I would like to point out here about Mito's composition, although he is in the 3rd age, he's invested in primarily age 2 focused units, which is going to mean he's going to have to get a lot of upgrades from the War Hut, which is going to do 2 things. One, it's going to stop him from being able to build units while he's researching upgrades, and 2, it costs a lot of resources to upgrade your standing army, which is going to be somewhat problematic for him as he's trying to get together a timing push here to go and effectively try and kill the Dutch player, because as we see, Ace is just continuing to power along. He's got another
He's
town
going
center.
industrial right now.
Is he going industrial?
Religious freedom as well.
All right, yeah. This is going to be this is a tough situation for Mito to be in.
I wonder where the tech show up that he's gonna. I guess he's just gonna use the religious freedom probably for stat houders, which would be insanely good at this point.
You're right. How many musketeers
20.
do you get, and how much does it cost?
It's 2,000 gold, and I think you get either 20 or it's got to be 20 guard muskets.
Yeah, which is it's just going to be, like you mentioned, insane. It's going to round out his composition very nicely. The medicine man doing some work here, healing up little priest. Take a look at this guy. I don't know that we get to see him in action too often. Looks pretty cool.
I love healing. Healing is actually really underrated. It heals at the rate of a factory producing resources, so if it's always, every time it's cranking, it's like you have a factory.
Yes.
That's actually pretty good, yeah. Hadn't ever thought of it that way, but if you think about healing up your existing units as effectively being a way that you're sinking resources, you're absolutely right. That's a good way to think about healers in general and how much value they can add to your composition. That said, second town center up for A's, and I do like that because one, it gives him a shipment point over here, and two, it gives him the ability to have some nice cover over this group of pronghorns and over this copper mine as well. So 1,000 coin is the age up as A's works his way into the industrial age. And with that 1,000 coin, he is going.
He's already banked.
He's
Although
going to
I
have
don't
the
think I would
resources.
have called the cav. I would call the hand cav as well. I'd call them both, I guess, before I fight, because you really want the snare effect from the other hand cav to force your muskets to just crush everything.
Yeah, and there's a decent number of forest prowlers in this mix as well. If you take a look at the military units, 23 forest prowlers currently in the mix, and certainly the stat howder is not going to be great against the Kanya horsemen, but they are still unupgraded Kanya horsemen. So the stat howders and the Stratiats both are going to be pretty good at effectively eliminating those fairly early in the fight as well. So we'll take a look and see what A's does. Certainly banking up huge amounts of coin.
What's interesting is it kept ticking down every so often, just shy of 2,000, and I'm not sure what he was doing, but he's got the coin now, and he hasn't started either of the big buttons.
Yeah, probably just queuing up villagers, and certainly because that tech does train very quickly, maybe he's okay to just wait for Mitoe to make an aggressive play and then try and use it as a timing play and continue just to make sure that his Vill population continues to rise out of both of his TCs at the same time. Certainly being in the fourth age.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was just hoping he would make the 5 cav or something right now, just so he has them as well.
Yeah. It's a good point, but at the same time, if his play moving forward here in the industrial age is just going to be ship factories, I have a second town center, I've got resources for quite some time to gather from, I don't really need to do anything but wait for my opponent to walk into my base and panic because I'm in the fourth age, then maybe he's okay with just holding on to 2,000 coin, waiting for that overcommit action to come, and then bouncing out the military units at that point in the game. maybe we'll see him be used aggressively.
Jeez.
Mitoe's army working its way in.
A common theme in all these games.
The random
One
outposts.
person's base is getting sieged down, other person is losing all their stuff.
Yeah. One bank does go down. Looks like A's. I think he might just be opting for some sort of base trade here, which certainly is the Dutch civilization. I don't know if I agree with that idea. Dutch is fairly immobile and has a lot of their economic buildings, kind of stashed in one location. I think this is actually good for Mitoe. Ace still does have the, there it goes, there goes the 2,000 coin, and we'll see whether or not, I don't think it's going to get out back at home, but where are the stat holders? That's going to be the important thing. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just taking it all in right now. The stat hunters pop out from the left tower and kill their 5 vills. And we're in the middle of a full-on base race in Dutch versus Zero, and it's another industrial game. There's just so much. There's so much to take in there. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a base race, and it looks like Mitoe has abandoned the base race. It looks like he's abandoned the game. Yeah, he's abandoned ship. The stat holders are out. Realistically, I don't think he can expect to.
The number of industrial ages in the series has been very, very high.
My Alexa just randomly started talking in the background. I don't know what it was saying. I had my headphones on, and all of a sudden I heard someone like talking behind me, and it was like this smart speaker that I have set up in my apartment, like talking at me. But yeah, you're right. The stat holders, once they get out, it's not going to be. I don't think there's any realistic way without a huge number of forest prowlers that Mitoe can ever expect to clear them. And I'd like to point out, it's not even 20 guard musketeers. It's 30 guard musketeers, which is just absolutely insane.
Yeah, it was. I was like 20 seems low because it cost 2,000 gold, so it was probably 30.
Yeah. But game number 3 going over to A's, and if Mito's not careful, he risks himself dropping a quick 4-0 to his sparring partner. Looks like we've still got a Team A's going on in the game lobby.
I think there needs to be a Team Mito at this point. He
Yeah, I
needs
think
to
so.
support in this condition.
I think that's the deciding point at this point in the game. Because no Mito supporters exist, I think if maybe we all showed a little love. I mean, it's his birthday after all. If we just showed a little love and got a couple chat rooms open for Mito, then maybe we'd have the opportunity to see a comeback.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see. I wonder what is A's gonna go for is the question. I think he might do drop the Aztecs, but I don't think I've ever seen A's play Aztecs. Have you?
I have not that I can think of. Which can he pick Sioux again if he wants to, or does he have to pick a different civilization? Okay.
He can. You can only play each native once outside of game 1.
Okay. I was going to stamp Howder to outpost earlier, then I realized you killed my church. That's like a classic A's conundrum right
like
there.
A's problem.
No one else has that problem when they play Dutch in a competitive match, but
Got the outpost up, but shoot, just no church.
dang it, lost my
Like,
church.
never build.
And it's not just that like I had built a church like in preparation for Stat Hollers, it's I built that church at 3 minutes to build my spy to kill your war chief. All right, so let's go back to our bold predictions because we're really good at them. We have a pretty good track record so far. I guess we're saying that A's is going to play Aztecs.
Yes.
And if A's is playing Aztecs, oh no, okay, he's playing Euro. Let's assume he's playing Euro. Mito has to play Dutch, German, or French. I think Mito will play German, right? I mean, he's down 3-0. He's got to pick Dutch, German, or French. He's going to pick German. I can't not see him playing Germany.
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure he's gonna go German. That's just like the Mito pick. And plus, apparently through the grapevine, which probably means what Diaroga thinks, is my guess, is that Germany just beats Euro. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm gonna go fill up my water real quick, and then I will be right back.
Alrighty, here. Let's see. It really comes down to what is Mito gonna do? Because he likes all three of those. They're his favorite three. So, being Dutch, French, and German are the ones he plays.
I can't decide between Dutch and German.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe choose between.
No.
Yeah, it is. Just taunts him. LOL.
I need
There
30
it
seconds
is.
now to get some water. I'll let you
Alright.
lead us off.
Sure. Everyone's clicked in. Looks like we're ready to go. It's going to be German versus Iroquois. And Mito, of course, well known for his German play. I guess that was kind of the safe bet for me to predict based on the fact that he does play quite a bit of German. But here we go. Game number 4. A's is currently leading 3-0. This could be the decider. Every game from this point on is match point for the Blue Brigadier A's. You're going to be playing the Iroquois civilization. I can't recall that I've ever seen A's actually play Euro, so I'm going to be quite interested to see what kind of wonky strategies he's going to attempt to pull off here. He'll be playing over here in the 4 o'clock position in the bottom right. And he'll be playing blue arrow. And his opponent, Mitoe, going to be playing the German civilization on the left side of the map over here in the 9 o'clock position. Going to be able to immediately pick up this little 50 food treasure, and nice little convert there coming in for A's as well. Going to be able to pick up that bear and that 40 wood for himself. So here we go. Mitoe working his way up to the north side of the map. Looks like he has gathered the resources required to build his trading post, and is going to place that down as we speak. Looks like it's going to be, you know, I don't know what kind of game we'll see. I would think maybe we would see something fortress based once again, but
it could go either way. I'm with you on that, because I don't know what happens if Euro. Like, the question in my mind is probably the same as yours. Like, what happens if Euro tries to put on pressure? Like, what does German do?
Yeah.
Because that kind of decides how this matchup goes, right? Because if German could just pretty easily hold an age, then I'm guessing we'll see Euro play a more tech-based game.
Yeah, I quickly popped off the Fog of War just to see the coin mine situation, because so often with Germany, because they are so heavily coin-based, if you think about their age 3 composition, Uhlans cost 100 coin and skirmishers cost 65 coin, war wagons cost 150 coin each, just an immensely gold-heavy civilization. And if you take a look at the coin mines, he's got the 1 silver mine in base, easily defensible. And then if you take a look at the next coin mines, they're way up here and out in these positions, which is going to be difficult to defend. So one thing that I'm thinking with Ace is if you can at least apply some pressure, force Mitoe to slow himself down and chew his way through some of that coin mine before he actually gets into the 3rd age and starts getting a really strong army, that could be something that could be quite beneficial to the blue Iroquois player.
Yeah, I think so too. This map in particular has quite far second gold mines, as you pointed out. So it's not very gold heavy, meaning like let's say you go to like this mine, like where do you go next? Like the walk time to this mine is so far.
Yeah. And even if you go way out here, I mean, you're just putting yourself in awkward positions where you're halfway across the map, and you risk losing your entire economy in one blow. Mitoe going to be picking up this nice little 90 food treasure. Let's take a quick look at the treasures. A's has discovered 40 wood and a native scout, and Mitoe has picked up actually a couple of nice little treasures: 50 wood and 50 food and 110 wood, and then followed up with that 90 food just now as well. So really nice little creep advantage there for I just saw that as well.
I got distracted by an incoming farm rush.
And it's funny to see in that location, but it used to be the standard play with your early Chavois would be to make the farm, and the reason you did it was because it actually does give you the full XP of building a farm, which is quite impactful. I think it's like 100-ish or 110 XP. Yes. Like it's something that is quite noticeable in the early game. It gets you your second shipment much quicker. So we'll see.
You used to be able to build a war hut with your age 1 travel back when the hero first came out. So.
Yeah. And that was pretty balanced, wasn't it?
It was just the dumbest thing ever. You had like 30 Tomahawks in your base at 4 minutes with 2 war huts surrounding you on Yukon.
Yeah, those were the good old days, all right. But anyways, we'll see whether or not we see any farm rush. Maybe a little bit of sheep action coming out of there. One thing to point out is there are no livestock on this map, and as a result of that, the farm does lose some of its power. If you start to think back of like Iroquois Mongolia, for example, where you would build the farm, get some XP, and have 10 yaks fattening on your farm, that's pretty impactful in the early portion of the game. That leads you to a very strong economy, at 7-8 minutes.
Yeah.
Certainly the farm out in the middle of nowhere here not going to be providing some of those sane benefits, but still giving a little bit of XP. The second shipment did come a little bit quicker than
It
it
does
would
give
have
you the
otherwise.
tech too, right?
It does give you the tech as well. You're right. It does give you the ability to get some of the food upgrades from the farm, which is also quite nice in the early portion of the game for a civilization that may or may not be making a market depending on how they decide to play.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that first tech you can get, it costs 100 wood and 75 gold, and it's basically another hunting dogs you can get. So, but obviously you don't have to spend the 100 wood to build that farm. You can travel away. It's a little more expensive, but again, gives you access to more of an economic upgrade path than most native sets have available.
One other thing that I think this farm does too, and I know we've spent a lot of time talking about this farm as Mitoe's Explorer goes around.
Meanwhile, Mitoe's got lawns and stables, mining a ton of gold.
It does give you vision across a common raiding path that the German player might otherwise be trying to utilize. So that is another thing that it does give you a slight advantage. But you're right, we should take a look at Mitoe's base. He does have a stable, 700 wood coming in after his 3 settler wagons. Does have that market up. Let's take a look at the text that he has. He's already got himself placed in mines, hunting dogs, and steel traps already researched, and it looks like a barracks going to be coming up here as well. So maybe a little bit of question in Mitoe's mind whether or not he needs to be able to defend here in the Second Age. We can take a look at the military units that A's has out. He does have a couple of military units running around the field. He's got the 4 Kanye that had come from the shipment down here, and he's also got the 5 Tomahawks, which I believe he has trained. So he's got a little bit of military presence, and that's at least causing Mitoe a little bit of concern, and we can see that shown here with the barracks that has now been constructed and is perhaps going to lead him to maybe making a few crossbow before he tries to get to the next stage.
Yeah, it looks like it, but unfortunately I think those will come out just a little bit too late. If that TP goes down to the 5 Tomahawks and they've done their job, and they can pretty much just die for no additional gain. A's is sending the mixed 200, 200, 200 crate and looking to age right now. So.
Yeah, if you take a look at A's base, and like you mentioned, he does have the 600 resource, the random grab bag card where you get a little bit of everything. And that little bit of everything is just what he needs to be able to build a house and get up to the next stage, which I think, like you mentioned, we'll be seeing here pretty quickly. Mitoe, on the other hand, just a little bit of food short, currently going to be able to gather that food quite quickly, has all 27 of his villagers presently working on gathering that food, and that should allow him to get the food necessary to age up, especially not when he's got all those upgrades working away on him. A's trying to be as pesky as he can with these Tomahawks, but unfortunately not going to be able to get any additional villagers. I think one did go down somewhere on the map, perhaps.
He lost 2 in total, yeah.
Okay, yeah. But realistically, Mitoe, pretty good control there, able to get the low HP villagers back into the TC and continue to gather at the same time. Let's take a look at the military economic unit population. Bang on even here at the current point where both players are going to be aging up. So relatively even going into the Third Age. I will say Germany has got some absolutely terrifying shipments in the Third Age, and I think we're all aware of that. Anyone who's been an Age 3 fan for quite some time knows that Germany, between the 10 and 12 minute mark when they get, their Ulan shipments and that 8 skirm plus 3 Ulan shipments, which is just maybe one of the best shipments in the game, it just provides you so much power and just gives a huge military spike. And so we'll see what happens. Another villager just getting away, and we'll see whether or not Mitoe ships some of those shipments and then gears up here for a big timing push. One thing that is worth mentioning is he did lose his trading post, and because he lost his trading post, that potential timing push will be delayed a little bit more than he may otherwise had he kept his trading post.
Yeah, but here's this moment we were talking about where the gold's out and it's getting awkward.
Yeah.
Mitoe's about to get another shipment. Now, just look at how much stuff he has. It doesn't feel like he has as much as you would expect.
Yeah, you're
because
right.
of all the harassment that's been done by AIDS.
Yeah, and he's done some things that are, you maybe wouldn't do if you didn't get pressured to. Like maybe you wouldn't build the barracks. You would age up a little earlier. You'd have a couple extra houses, and you would just power up some of those shipments. And maybe if you didn't have your trading post still alive, you would already be working your way across the middle portion of the map. But that's not the case. The German player is standing effectively with his whole army in a defensive position. Well, the Euro player is the one that's out proactively on the map, getting map vision. He's got 2 trading posts out.
I love these stealth skirms too. He now knows where everything is.
Yeah, where do you see the? Oh yeah, you're right. That's a really interesting take on using your units. It's leave it to A's to.
It's led to this. Too, right? It's led to find. He's gonna see all those bills.
Yeah.
And the farm line of sight too coming into play here. Although those 3 bills might be in the secret pocket of like. They won't get, oh, sorry, they got found. Yeah.
The secret pocket.
Right there goes 5 bills, right?
Yeah, and that's really tough for Mitoe. And I think this is A's using his military units to gain information in ways that I think we kind of spelled out early in the game. If you take a look at the gold mines, they are spread out, and that is going to be one of the big weaknesses to Germany's age
This
streak.
would be a really nice catch though for the German player, catching 6 cav that are just getting the veteran tech and the explorer here.
Yeah.
Looks like he only get 2 of the cav, and the explorer depth is absolutely massive.
Yeah, and that is one thing that A's has done. Because he has stealthed some of his units, because he has spent some time running around raiding, his army is not in a good position to defend against this big push. And so this is still going to be the scary point in the game where every German player is going to get to some level of power between the 10 and 12 minute mark, where they've shipped 1 or 2 or 3 shipments in the mid portion of the game. Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Which is what he needs to round out this composition.
Right, and this is going to make it pretty tough. If we take a look at the military unit compositions, A's doesn't have very many forest brawlers, and the forest brawlers that he does have some of them have been kind of split off and used for tactical purposes and not military maybe purposes as well. So it's going to be a scary push to hold when those 9 Black Riders do come, and Mitoe just kind of forces his way into maybe a precarious position for A's. Maybe he comes and just stands on top of a hunt, maybe makes a push over to here or something like that. It's going to be difficult for him to hold, and we'll see how he deals with it. Whether or not he continues just to raid himself, and I mean he has to know he had the Black Rider.
His mind's about to run out, which is really good for Mitoe actually. Because he won't be there when this cap comes up.
Yeah,
and he's
that's
also
true.
just sneaking just past 5 rifle riders or musket riders, and he's gonna get 30 bills here, I would imagine.
Yeah, looks like
maybe even more. He's not seeing this just yet. There's 2. I'm just watching that.
Yeah.
There comes the cap for the raid, and Mitoe may not have moved these cellar wagons in time. They might still get caught.
No, that would be devastating.
There we go. He might lose too.
And I mean, A's knew about that position, right, because of the stealth forest prowler, and was using that information to try and make a play over there. But Mitoe hit.
This could be a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't get it. Huh? Okay, looks like he's just gonna turn frontier and just go straight for the remaining hunt.
Yeah.
Which if he makes it to the hunt instead of going into the seed line here, it would be very devastating.
Yeah. We'll have to see where Mitoe does push. This looks like the frustrated German. I'm down 3 games. I just need 1 type push.
I just want to push. Like let me just right click with all my shipments.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens. There are more scary shipments that are going to be backing this. Now remember, when the fighting picks up, XP levels start to spike for both sides. That's when Germany continues to just pour on the pressure. 9 Ulan's going to be coming. 8 Ulan's going to be coming.
And Mitoe just popped a shipment, and A's just got his. Like Mitoe's will probably be here in about 15 seconds or so, and I'm guessing it'll be something like Ulan based, just because of the position he's in. He needs it to get here fast. And he's smartly sending these 3 Ulan ahead to find the resources. Look, A's entire economy is centered here, and now Mitoe knows that. So hopefully he doesn't walk into the base here. Yeah, there we go. He's walking up top, and
I think this might be the first game we've seen where it doesn't play out. Yeah, I see that. I'm not sure it matters anymore though. I think it's going to come down to who's got army left at the end of the big engagement at this war hut.
One settler wagon. He's like, how did I survive? But you're right. Yeah, this is just both sides. Big plays on the economy right now. The unfortunate thing is look at the military unit population and the potential reinforcements going to be coming forward here.
Yeah, there's a ton of Golan coming across the map right now, and that massive war wagon covering for the Black Riders. There's just no way that this massive cav is going to be able to handle that.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be a precarious position to hold. The one thing I will say, A's does have 2 war huts here in his TC, so he is going to be able to pop units and pop them into hopefully good locations, but I just don't know if it's going to matter with all these
resources. So he has nothing to pop right now. He's got no resources, and he just got a shipment, which he can queue up. But he doesn't have 8 forest crawlers or much of the hand cav available.
And the Black Riders just showing their strength here as well, soaking so much damage. I mean, they have 520 hit points, just taking forever to kill, and I think this is just going to be it. This is maybe a little bit later than Mitoe would have been expected to make his push, but this is the big push, and I think Ace knows it, that it's going to be very, very tricky.
Getting 5 more bills. I agree. I think it's probably the push.
Look at the economic unit populations. Both sides trending back towards 0.
Yeah, Mitoe's about to lose another 9.
Yeah.
It's actually 8, but whatever.
Yeah, both sides.
Somehow he got 3 of these villagers out. But it doesn't really matter though, because at the end of the day, one player has the town center and the other player doesn't, and one player has the military pop.
Well, that's I think even the bigger thing. I think even if both sides were to lose their town centers right now, one player's got a practically unkillable army by the other player. A's doing his best to shuffle some of his villagers from the TC into the war hut, but unfortunately,
wants to live somehow. Like, you know, he showed mercy. I respect.
I will say that I do.
They can slowly creep back in.
Exactly. I like what A's is doing here. He's not engaging. He's not just throwing away his army. He's being smart with it. He's got some Tomahawks here to the north side as well. And now, you know, he's going to continue to lose villagers, but he knows that he's done pretty real economic damage to his opponent as well. So if he can catch a good position like this.
Fighting. Oh my god, just fight. No, now we're doing the bad retreat. We should just have to fight that. I think A's is probably going to win this game.
Yeah, I don't know. Mitoe still has a TC. The economies are both almost nothing at this point. One thing I will point out is, I guess, for what it's worth, the scary part of the German shipment spam is over.
Only 7 sperm remains. You are correct. That's probably what's the queue right now.
Yeah, and it's
war wagons again.
Yeah, I don't know. If Ace could get one more good catch with this cavalry army against the predominantly skirmisher heavy army that his opponent has, maybe he can still win. But I think he still has to get a good catch with his army. I think Mitoe's just mentally defeated here, maybe more than anything else.
Yeah, mentally worn out here. I don't think he can lose from here though, because Ace has 11 vills and no hope of ever getting kills.
I don't know that he can kill the army as long as it stays grouped up. I don't know that he can kill Mitoe's army.
Yeah, this is pretty concerning to me. Otherwise, like if he loses that, then they're at equal economy, which is exactly what's about to happen.
Do you think? Yeah, I guess you're right.
It's absolutely going to, for no reason either, but it's going to happen.
The good thing about Ace's base situation, he doesn't really need any of these houses or anything. Like he's got plenty of pop space. He's got plenty of pop space.
No one needs infrastructure at this point. Is it 3 Doppel's ship? Oh my
it was God. Yeah, it was 3 Doppel's ship.
He has 7 spoons. I guess he shows. I think he's really recognizing that his cav mass is more covered up. Yeah, that would be a trick. I think that might lock it in. Because he's still getting rated really heavily.
Yeah, he is. he does have the Kisses, Snarf, and Barf has made it up. Wow, here comes the mantlets. You know, I don't know. The military unit populations are trending towards even, and I think there's still a chance that if A's can get a good catch here,
I just don't understand. Like it's really not. There's not even anything that difficult really holding Mitoe back in all the games we watched today. Like all he has to do is just like right now just build villagers, you know.
Yeah, I mean, once you get into the mentality though of you're a little bit off, you start getting. I can see how that could be difficult to recover from, but looks like we're going to be gauging up for another engagement here. A decent Tomahawk mass.
This is it.
Yeah, a good positioning there by the pikes.
And then he'll be fine. That's
Yeah.
like the big moment here. Cap nicely kiting away though from all that hand infantry. I think there's just a little bit too much of it for the Tomahawks to be able to clear out. And somehow regrouping. Is Ace gonna call it?
Ace calls it, and smartly so. I don't think he would have won that fight. He's just got such a ragtag army left with the 5 mantlets, Fort Kanyan, which are out of position, going to die very soon because they're engaging directly on all the anti-cavalry units, and the 16 Tomahawks, which are basically squared up directly against the skirmishers. Ace does call it, and Mitoe, if nothing else, gets a reconciliation game and
Right.
brings himself up to 1-3. A long road to hoe if he's going to reverse sweep the series and win against Ace, but lives to see another day. Oh, I lost my connection to ESO.
You lost your connection?
Yeah, when I quit out of the game, I lost my connection.
Yeah, there was one little moment where you you cut out for about 3 or 4 seconds.
Oh, really?
For me, at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see if I dropped any. Oh, yeah, I did drop.
No, I actually dropped 2. I'm not connecting. I think the ESO might be down.
I did drop a few frames at some point in that game, but I'm not able to reconnect currently.
I'm still waiting to load Home City, so I'm going to be joining you very soon.
I'm still not connected to ESO. I'm at the this stage where it's like doing that weird thing. It's just like frozen. Alt F4. I'm just gonna restart my game real quick.
Never mind, I didn't have to reconnect. I pulled it off.
Did you pull it off?
I did. I was patient, and it paid off.
Well done. I lost patience staring at the connecting to ESO box and Alt F4. Alright, here we go. I'm back in the mix now.
Always good to have Tom back in the mix.
I'm back in the mix. Alright, so moving our way forwards, we've got Mitoe, who's played the European Civ, or the non-native Civ, I suppose. So A's is going to be, I think, back in the driver's seat. Certainly, I don't think A's is super comfortable playing the Euro civilization. I think when it comes to native civs that I equate with being played by A's, the only one I can think of is Sioux. So I think he's going to be more comfortable in the next game, and now Mitoe's going to have to go back to. Does Mitoe have to play Aztec?
Yeah, he can't play Euro, so he'll probably will play Aztec. I'm thinking that all the way through.
I don't know that I really think of him as too much of a Sioux player, and he has played.
Definitely will play Aztecs, no doubt.
All right, so let's go back to our bold prediction line of play. So if
I'll be bold.
Mitoe is playing Aztec, Then A's has to play Port, India, or Spain, and I'm gonna guess we're gonna see Port.
Maybe India.
You think so?
I don't know. I think you might be trying to have a little bit of fun here. Ace is always trying to have some fun, so. I mean, if you were like the try-hard civilization, the matchup was probably Port.
But Ace just plays Port, like that's like one of his go-to civs.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like he plays Port, and like it's pretty good civ in the matchup. Pretty solid overall.
Map is going to be Arkansas. See some of the chat comments. Couldn't connect to ESO. Game doesn't count. Still 3-0.
There's no proof it even happened.
Yeah.
I'd like to see some elephants.
That's true. Ace does have an elephant affinity. He certainly could. He could bring out the chainmail sounding elephants. The what are they called? The flails. The flail.
He's the only man brave enough to build that unit. I won't build that. I'm willing to build the other elephants, but not that one.
I think if there's an elephant that exists in the next game, the first one that'll be outside of the explorers is the flail elephant.
Flail elephant's just such a bad unit. It's like unbelievable how bad that unit is. It moves super slow. It does splash siege damage or something like that to buildings, right? Like, does that matter, right?
Yeah. I see you're just locked in, ready to go. Why are you playing the French civilization?
I don't know. I logged in and that's what it was on. Usually it starts on on the British for me.
So, if you look at my home cities, actually, I played a lot of these from like.
Well, back in the day when you made a new city, it didn't start at level 100 more or less. You had to like farm each city up. So I played the British civilization from level 1 to level 129. That was my first home city. And then all the other ones I did plantation farming on like every single civilization of someone for like a week to get them all to like 60 to 80 and
how
anything
painful.
It was so painful. It's just like, okay, let's go into game. Let's build a bunch of plantations and delete them over and over and over again.
My when I look back at my civilizations, I can tell which ones. So I've played most of them like up to the level they currently are. India, I got to level 34, and then I obviously I gave up because then I have like a new one that's like level 99.
Oh, you used to it in like the order they're all in order.
Yeah.
Oh, they're alphabetical. Okay.
Yeah, but then like I think all of the other civs except for Spain. Yeah, if you look at my Spain as well, my Spain and my Aztec are both like still ridiculously low level because I never played them. But
yeah.
I do have a second Spain civilization that's up there, but I don't think I have I do have a second Aztec one as well. So
you can see it in my civ list too. Like the Sioux and the Aztec are both level 82 and 83. Like they're under 100.
Yeah. It's like I just never bothered.
Japan, India, Dutch, and British are all civs I've played up to 131, more or less.
You can't claim 131 with 129. I'm no mathematician, but
it's close enough, right?
No,
I mean,
no, it's not.
You're in like the high 120s, like what's
if you're in the upper, and especially like the difference between those, like the amount of XP in between those like last levels is so high.
But there's no way to actually tell, of course, because as with many things in Age of Empires, there's a progress bar with no way of knowing the numbers in it.
The maxed out XP level is 10 million, and I think 5 million gets you like to level 100.
I'm almost level 21. I'm level 129 and 3/4, and I have 9.1 million. So you're probably right.
Yeah. By the way, you just missed it. Mitoe locked in Aztec, and A's immediately locked in India. He knows it's the elephants. And Mitoe says, "Are you flailing me?"
So I guess we all have the same ideas in mind.
So right.
I would like to just see a solid elephant build.
Except your view of a solid elephant build is not going to be flail elephants.
I know.
Which is what we are going to see.
Did you see the elephant build that I did in the last tournament?
What round?
It was against Mongo 10.
I don't think I did.
I'll have to show you. I think you'll really like it.
Okay.
It's pretty unique.
Anyways.
Spoiler alert, there's no flail elephants.
There's no flail elephants. How can you consider yourself an India player if you don't have a flail elephant build in your back pocket? Anyways, here we go. Launching into game number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Going to be between Mitoe and A's. A's is going to be playing over here on the right side of the map. We're going to be playing the Red Indians. And his opponent is going to be Mitoe, and he will be playing on the left side of the map. In the color teal, playing the Aztec civilization. We've gone back and forth. The map is Arkansas. I think one of the earlier versions of the ESOC maps included Arkansas. I've always liked this map. I think it's really nice and balanced. I think the rush distance is pretty nice. It's got some interesting features on it. The trade post line is, I think, relatively competitive. And so I think it's a pretty good map. A is going with a build that the first time I saw it happen was by the player Boneng, where you go basically all villagers on wood. You're guaranteed to start with enough wood to be able to build a trading post, and you do so. And then it slows down your age up a little bit, but you have a trading post and you get some nice shipments going early on. So we'll see what ends up happening. I'm predicting flail elephants. I think Mitoe's expecting flail elephants. And we'll see whether or not A's uses that to his advantage to say, you know what, I'm not actually making flail elephants.
You know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb and just pick a different A strategy, and I'm just gonna go with the Rajput strategy.
You're gonna go Rajputs. That's a common one. You could also make an argument for like age 4 base play with like Urumi or something like that. I could also be in the works for A's, but truth be told, no one. Oh, look at the stomp. Is he gonna get away? No, not gonna matter. Truth be told, not gonna matter because deep down, the only person who actually knows what's going to happen here from the India player is A's, and
that's exactly right. I mean, we can speculate all day, but there's a lot of different ways to go with India, which is I think they're one of the better designed civs in the game. They're one of the few civs that requires you to use all 3 of the resources all game long. And they're also, I think they're the only civ that actually requires that to any meaningful extent. And then they also just have a ton of different builds and units. They're all available pretty early.
That's a good point. They do have, I mean, they have super viable age 2 options. I mean, agri-fort rushing has been a thing since day 1 of India release. I mean, people have been building forward agri-forts for 10 years. And there are plenty of economic options you can use. There are 2 or 3 different wonders that are actually viable for using for various different purposes, like for each age up that you can consider. There's a good number of very economic based strategies in the second age. There are plenty of good like economic based semi-FF based strategies. They've got a really strong age 4. And on all those bases, I would agree. I think India is actually, I think it's a really well designed civ. They've got a lot of diverse playstyles. You can scout their playstyles, so like you can tell when an aggro rush is coming at you, and you can adapt to it. You can tell when they're playing back and playing a little bit more economically. And so I would agree. I think India is a really solid civ, really well designed.
Yeah, I really do. I'm just thinking now, which of those things will it be?
Flail elephants. If I still have to pick something, I'm gonna go with flail elephants. Oh, the flail elephants aren't in the deck.
You can't ship them, can you? You have to train them.
I think there's a 2 flail elephant card.
I thought he always trained them and shipped 5 sepoy out of the tower.
Maybe, I don't know.
He does have the suffering card, which is a key part to the Rajput strategy.
Okay. Oh, I think you're right. I think it's a team 2 flail elephants card that you can send.
That could be good.
I think it'll cost like 300 food or something like that in the second age.
Yeah, and at that point you may as well just train 2.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, A's gonna sneak in here. He's gonna steal the treasure. Mitoe getting a little careless with his creep and going to lose the tomahawk as a result. Does have a couple of wolves for his troubles, but unfortunately loses the tomahawk. Which, if A's does go for some sort of aggressive play, is going to be an extra unit that he can use to apply some pressure.
He's going for the Carney Age Up, which is pretty much could be anything, but definitely more of a tech-oriented build. Typically comes out of that.
Yeah, we'll have to see what exactly it ends up being. I still don't see any villagers walking forward or anything. Which, if you were going with some sort of like pretty aggressive build, you would think you would see villagers coming forward. Now, one thing that I guess I've been neglecting through all of this is that his opponent is Aztec, and because your opponent's Aztec, he's going to age up fast. He's going to have the potential to have aggressive war huts and stuff out in the middle of the map. So maybe the flail elephant strategy is not as good. In fact, it looks like we've got good faith agreements has been sent, and we're going to see a consulate coming up for A's. So maybe he's just going to be swapping over to the French consulate and picking up some crates and using that to try and do some sort of semi-FF build. That's kind of my read based on what I'm seeing here. But once again, deep down, only A's really knows what's going to happen. What's going to happen. Mitoe, on the other hand, playing a pretty standard style of Aztec. He's got a pretty good economic build going. 5 villagers, 700 wood. He's got the market down. Hunting dog's just finishing up now. He's got his fire pit built. He's got his warrior priest dancing, and he's got a trading post that he's constructed fairly early on in the game down here as well. So Mitoe looking to play, I think, by the book Aztec, playing pretty normally, maybe just waiting to see what his opponent does and going to base his own plays based on that. Back in A's base, we can see the good faith agreements and the diplomatic intrigue are going to make for the relatively easy crate spam coming out of the consulate, which I think is what we're going to see. We can see he's allied with the French, and so he's going to be able to ship all of those crates out of the French consulate. He does have a stable up as well, so we'll potentially see maybe a few units that he's going to use to either try and raid or have as backup for deflecting any aggression that he might see out of his Aztec counterpart. But for the most part, I think we're just going to be expecting to see some sort of almost straight semi-FF build with very, very little aggression going on from A's at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I've never really seen good faith agreements feel worth it to me. It always seems kind of interesting on paper, but it just takes so long to set it all up, right? You have to send the good faith agreements, then you have to send 300 export, and then you basically are just nonstop churning out these different upgrades, and all that all of that turned into, right? Those 2 shipments turned into 500 crates of each type, and really. Yeah. I mean, I could have just sent 2 shipment crates and been pretty darn close to that a heck of a lot sooner.
Yeah, nice little pop there with the Minutemen. Did snag the Macehualtin that were encroaching on his base and defends his villagers fairly nicely. Also does have 3 Zams sneaking around the backside of the map, which if he can deal with the Macehualtin, will be quite good at poking down the Coyote runners here as well. So getting in there as well, gonna be able to pick off some of those units, but. Unfortunately for him, 10 Macehualtin coming forward here as well. A's did pick off the first batch of units, but unfortunately for him, going to lose some more units here. Does pick up 1 more of the Coyotes, loses another villager, and we can see kind of the economic unit population really starting to churn in Mitoe's favor at this point.
Yeah, I mean, A's has lost 5 villagers right now. So he's also 7 coins short of aging up.
Oh, that's pretty frustrating. He does have some a villager that has snuck down here. I'm surprised he doesn't just stop and grab 7 coin from that mine and drop down his wonder. It looks like he has managed to get it. Perhaps he sold at the market to get it, or maybe he just popped out some villagers real quick and gathered up from his coin crate. But either way, it looks like he does now have the age up queued up. It looks like it's going to be probably the one that gives you the elephant. But I don't know. He might just lose the game before he can get aged up and do anything here. His Minutemen are down. He doesn't have any military units, and Mito's got a pretty imposing army. 6 Puma working their way across the map.
The other thing we have to remember is that export doesn't gather. Export's gathered passively when vills are doing things, and no vills are gathering anything right now. So A's export is stuck at 45, and even with good faith agreements, he has a CM? No. As you say, even with good faith agreements, it's not going to be easy for A's to get the resources he needs to call those Ottoman minutes, which would help him push this back.
He actually does have enlist their regulars, the British or the European equivalent of colonial militia.
CM. Yeah, he does have CM. Okay. And Mito finding this wonder, those 2 coyote are so key right now. They're going to keep the villagers from getting away while the mace clean them up. Looks like he is going back. There's a CM.
Yeah, pretty good sentry pop there, right on top of the coyote runners. Going to be able to do a decent amount of damage. For Mito's credit, he did slow down the wonder. He did
probably just turn and fight that.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, irregulars are really, really strong. The sentry units are really, really strong. 120 hit points and 7 attack, with a 2.3 multiplier against coyotes. So he does want to be a little bit careful with how he approaches that fight.
Yeah, he's got to take it soon though, because I mean, right now, if Ace is able to gather, he's able to get out the minutes, and then also an elephant, as you said, is about to pop out right now.
Yeah, here comes the elephant. Sentry's flanking him from the back. The Mahout working its way on top of the mace, going to be able to deal some pretty significant damage there. Looks like the coyote is going to about face and try and work their way in. More Macehualtin reinforcing from the 9 shipment from the left side, and more coyotes being trained as well. Looks like the elephant is going to go down. Mito going to be able to clean up that fight with relative ease.
Here, right?
Yeah.
And what if he gets the TC? And I think it's 100 export he needs. So I'm just watching that super closely, because those 6 minutes do buy a lot of time, or they buy him more time that he needs.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to matter. The town center has already been battered. It's under half of its hit points, and realistically, even should he survive here, he's just in a huge economic disparity. 22 villagers.
Yeah, this looks like one of those situations that I think we've all been in, where it's just where the Aztec just has stuff underneath your town center, and it's very hard to get it away.
Yeah. And yeah, you can make the argument you're killing a bunch of stuff with your town center, but if you think about the value of the mace and how expensive they are, it's not like you're really gaining that much, right? It's nice, but
does Ace have another shipment going right now? I don't know. I think he might. It's hard for me to tell. I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, he's killed a lot of units. I think you're right. I think he should have another shipment come, but I still don't know that it's going to matter.
I mean, the thing is though, he does 1-shot Puma Spears and 2-shot these Jaguar Knights. So I mean,
yeah, that's true.
Might only have to run away.
At the same time, Ace is down to 19 vills, and he hasn't been gathering for the past 3 minutes with any of them. There comes the gardeners.
The intervention for Hussar shipment. I'm not sure how I feel about that. They're stronger than normal Hussar, which is nice, but
yeah, perhaps he is hoping that he can get with his advanced consulate up to the amount to get another 3 Hussars, and then he would have 7 pretty strong Hussars. But I think Mito can be expecting that there's going to be some sort of cavalry based play, and start to manufacture some Puma Spearmen to be able to deal with that as well.
Yeah, but the problem with that line of thinking is that you actually don't, it doesn't decrease, the card does not decrease the cost of your Hussar things, only it decreases the cost of the one-time sendable things.
Yeah.
So they still cost the full 400 export, which he won't have for another several minutes.
That's true.
Although these Coyote are just going to get cleaned up for free here. I mean, Coyote already suck versus Hussar, let alone some pretty meaty veteran Hussars that they're outnumbering them.
Yeah. Which is nice. Mito still is locked into the second age play. I didn't even know it was possible, Mito says. But
Yes.
yeah, the follow-up point I was going to make is Mitoe is, I mean, he's not in a great spot. He's got an economic unit lead, but he's a long ways away from being able to age. He's chewed through a lot of resources. He's Aztec and, you know, super long extended age 2 play. If the India player can get some tech rolling and get some elephants and maybe pull together some composition, it's going to be difficult to deal with those units without, you know, getting up to the next tier of units yourself and having maybe some Eagle Runner Knights to help dissuade some of that pressure.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I mean, these raids are already starting to. This is like the same game. I feel like I'm watching the same game, just different civs over and over again.
Yeah. And imagine, you know, like, what if A's has this scout and takes a look up there, and, you know, there's, I think, a pretty good chance that he does run up there, and I think Mitoe is certainly worried about it. Maybe, you know, A's saw the animals dying in the black of the map, or maybe he's just taking that as his traditional exit route, but either way, you can see that Mitoe got a pretty good read that that's the way his opponent was running, and immediately had some question as to whether or not these 10 or so villagers were going to be very, very exposed.
Right.
And there's the 7-year army card, which is going to be
it's so hard to deal with.
it's going to be the next card out, and you're right. It's going to be really difficult to deal with. Usually, you think, okay, like, you have some ranged units, maybe some musketeers that can, you know, shoot them and kind of run, and even though they're not great against them, it's something. But that's not going to be the case. There's not a great unit that's going to be able to help deal with that until A's can get to the next stage and can get some of those age 3 units.
I think what he really needs more than anything is just to go full coyote, and I'm worried that there may be an overcompensation of Puma coming. Let me see what's in units in queue. Oh, there's 1 Howdah in queue for A's, and then there's 10 more coyote coming. So really, I mean, if A's is able to start stabilizing on Howdah, it's going to be a really rough position for Mitoe. But I mean, this is kind of his timing window, I think, when these 10 coyote pop out here in a second, and there's only 2 Howdah out. This is kind of his chance.
Yeah. A's does have some villagers down here in a precarious position. We'll see whether or not he can get any more raids off. These Hussar, which have been healed up slightly by the monks, are going to pick off another villager. And looks like A's going to lose his TP. He has to be very careful. His villagers are gathering in very precarious positions over here. Certainly trying to be greedy, trying to gather up as much of that food as he possibly can, but he needs to be careful that he doesn't lose his whole economy at the cost of it as well. And here comes the big fight.
How are those not getting seen? Okay, I guess this is the fight. He's just got to take it head on too, I think. He almost has to also flank off just like 5 or so pikes just to keep the Howdah running. But falling back from this position,
it's going to be tough. If those Urmi and Hussar just kind of jam into the Coyotes and Pikes, it's going to be, I think, pretty devastating for the Aztec player.
I mean, he's really just got to power over that hump of the Urumi with a superior Coyote mass. That's what he needs to do to win this game.
Yeah.
And then age up behind that, because I mean, May he doesn't really have a good answer to Howdah, except when the numbers start to get bigger, and the value that comes from just trading at a range like that can really be a problem for him.
Yeah, it's a good point. And once again, here we see these 3 Hussars sneaking up to the north. I'm still curious as to whether or not Ace thinks he has any read on whether or not those villagers are there. Perhaps just checking on the coin line, realizing nothing's there, and then seeing that I probably need to come home and help hold down the fort here. Ace does have another shipment that it just arrived, so potentially, unfortunately, it looks like he might get housed here pretty quick, but if he can pop it out before he loses any more of his units and kind of buy some time there, he could have a chance. Minutemen going to be coming out. Mitoe smartly going to retrieve it. Oh, there we go.
This is such a good engage for him. Those Coyote cutting off the Urumi while the Pikes are able to still get on the cav. The Urumi are trying to swing around to get to the spears, and I think they're getting on them a little bit, but they're already so thinned out.
Yeah.
At the same time, just a ton of units, and I'm not sure that 2 Howdah in the back are able to do enough damage to knock this Coyote line.
No, that's strictly a more stuff principle win there for Mitoe. Just kind of jams everything in there. He's got enough stuff to kill the Urumi rather quickly, just with a sheer DPS. The town center has been repaired, but realistically, there's just not too much threatening remaining at this point. 8 Gurkha is going to pop out and immediately die to the Coyote Runners. And although there are, the 2 Howdas working in the background, the TC is going to go down. The Gurkhas are dead, and realistically, there's nothing Ace can do. It looks like he's hands off the wheel at this point, and has realized that no victory is in sight. And with that, Mitoe actually going to be making it interesting, bringing it back up to 3 games to 2, and bringing himself back in the series. The reverse sweep is still potentially real, especially now that A's has to go back to playing a native civilization, which, as we've mentioned before, I don't know that he's quite as comfortable doing.
Exactly. And I mean, we're running out of civs here, right? I mean, A's has to play Aztec and Mitoe has to play Sioux, so it's like we're like running out of civs.
The good news is we're also running out of games, right? I mean, there's only 2 games left, so
right.
With that said, I am going to take a quick run to the restroom, and then we'll get into the next game.
Alrighty, I will also be stepping away for a minute. I'll be right back.
Okay, I am back. We are getting ready here to launch into game number 6 between Mitoe and A's. The score is currently 3 games to 2 in favor of A's. The next set of civilizations looks like A's is going to be playing the Aztec civilization. He is forced into Aztec based on the civilization rules, and that means that Mitoe will have his choice of playing either Portuguese, India, or Spain in response. Should we get to a 7th game, Mitoe will be forced into playing the Sioux civilization.
Yes.
And A's will play Russia, Japan, or Spain as a response. So we'll see what ends up happening. A's has picked the Aztec civilization, and we'll see what Mitoe chooses in response. Looks like we're going to see India versus Aztec again. Same matchup, swamped players playing the civilizations. I'm clicked in. It looks like the map is going to be Adirondacks. I don't know that I've seen Adirondacks too much. That must be one of the newer maps in the map pool from the Garja maps.
Yeah, it's a bit newer. It was kind of the standard map for the last tournament, I think, more or less. You know, like the Kamchatka type of map. It's really nice. It's got like a U-shaped water on top of it.
I know the one it is. I know the one it is.
Kind of like a triangle TP line.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Indeed I do. So it looks like we're just about ready to start here. Game number 6 between Mitoe and Aiz. Aiz is currently up 3-2. And here we go, launching into game number 6. Mitoe trying to keep the reverse sweep hype alive, and Aiz just trying to close it out with one more victory. All he needs is one more game at any point, and he will advance to the finals of this TWC tournament. Aiz is going to be playing the Aztec civilization, spawning down here in the 4 o'clock position as the blue Aztecs. And his opponent Mitoe spawning on the other side of the map, cross position, in the 8 o'clock position, playing the teal Indian civilization. I will say, I think it is far less likely that we see flail elephants this time around than we did last time. But we didn't see them last time. I think there's an even less of a chance that we see them this time.
Yeah, I think so too.
For better or for worse, whether or not it's a good thing or bad thing, I guess it depends on whether or not you're watching or or playing. But I don't expect Mitoe to do anything too crazy. It looks like Mitoe has happened across this 90 coin treasure. He's going to be able to pick that up. That's kind of a nice little buoy for him. Going to help him get some of his market upgrades in the transition, I would imagine. And Aiz, what has he found? He's converted himself a black bear and gotten himself 40 XP for the trouble. So looks like he's positioning outside of this little 90 food treasure that I believe both players.
Better treasures on the map, right? So there's that one and then this one. Those are the best two, and there's also 60 food up here. So really, those are the 3 treasures left on the map that are worth getting, so to speak.
Yeah, certainly good food treasures, and certainly those food treasures really helpful for India in speeding up their age up times, which helps them stay a little bit more competitive with the Aztec aged up time. Which, if we assume the Aztec player is going to fast age and be aged up shortly between 3 minutes and 10 seconds, 3 minutes 20 seconds, or something like that, that can be really impactful for the Indian player to shave 20, 30, 40 seconds off their age up time.
Yeah, exactly. I think on these when I think of treasures, there's always that one treasure set that just feels like there's a lot of 90 foods hanging out. And usually on those maps, you want to just try to find as many food treasures as you can and age up quickly, right? Try to shave one bill off of it.
Yeah, A is going to be picking up that first 90 food treasure. Going to be nice and beneficial to him. Unfortunately for Mitoe, still has not picked up any of those extra food treasures, which, as we mentioned, make a huge difference in how quickly you're able to age up. And now it looks like, unfortunately for Mitoe, gets boxed in here by some of the War Chief and his companions, and unfortunately going to potentially lose his one of his elephants. Oh, it looks like he broke free. Yep, he has broken free, and it looks like he is going to be able to sneak his way on out of there. Aiz, as a consolation prize, is going to be able to pick up beaver pelts worth 30 coin, and the elephant will continue on his way, although at a significantly lower HP because of some of the snare effect.
Right.
Actually, both of Mitoe's explorers on pretty low HP, which, if you think about it, having those explorers at full hit points are pretty powerful in defending in some of the early game and helping you buy some time if you're up against any pressure. So we'll see whether or not that ends up making any difference, but something worth noting in the early game, at least for the India player.
Yeah, and he's gonna have to heal those in transition. To the point you just mentioned, you need to have both those at full HP. I think what he should do probably is go double stun the 90 food that he sees, and just try to close that little gap that he's got. And then defensive aggro for it going down, which is really well positioned in my opinion. Unfortunately, he won't be able to pull in this hunt, but if he could, then you'd have 3 hunts and his second mine locked down by the agrifort.
Yeah, and the whole tree line. Of course, India quite reliant on wood to be able to chop for villagers. That little patch of trees should last them for quite some time, and being tucked right behind that agrifort like that, going to be really nice for him as well. So, actually shaping up to be, a really nice defensive base here for Mitoe. He's got a couple hunts that he can tuck behind all of this. He's got 2 coin mines, which are in relative safely with the agrifort, and he'll probably look just to camp out there for a little while and try and build up some sort of an economic advantage against potential pressure that his opponent is going to be putting on him. And looks like we might see some of that pressure as that forward war hut is being constructed in the middle of the map.
Yep. And here's that time we were talking about where Mitoe should probably just have his elephants sitting together to be healing up a little bit here. I'm sure they'll have to pull them off at some point to build a TP too, depending on how he chooses to time this.
Yeah. The villager coming down here to start help herding as well. And yeah, you're right. And certainly those elephants, as they get aged up, they get a little more hit points and become a little bit more durable. And once, he's got most of the map, I would assume, kind of scouted out. The treasure gathering portion of the game is pretty much done. And so after he gets the TP constructed, I expect that we'll just see him go back and continue to heal those elephants up and get them back to full HP, because they are, as we've mentioned, a very valuable asset in the early game to the Indian player.
Yep, exactly.
Also, a nice little wall constructed here by Mitoe. We can see circled in the top portion of the space with some walls, and then combined with the agrifort, the house, and the market, all trending towards the trading post line, is made for a really, really nice little defensive structure here. Going to make it very difficult for A's to work his way in, but
here comes the 5 Gurkha, right around now. He really needs to get that, get a couple, one clean volley that could kill 1 or 2 of those pumas is what he really needs right now. But the agrifort also is really just targeting pets at this point, and all the damage from the agrifort has been pretty much nullified just by not being targeted. So it's the little things, but they really do add up when you consider that there could be 3 less mace probably at this point, just from having better tower usage. And still, those puma are not getting poked, and there's several coyote coming now to zone these Gurkha out. I think this might somehow push down the agrifort. There's another 9 mace coming behind it. Sentries are not going to be enough here, to be perfectly honest. I mean, they'll push it back, but the agrifort's going down.
And Mitoe's concerned, right? I mean, he's got his barracks already building in the background. I think he's resigned to the fact that he knows that the agrifort is going to go down. There's probably nothing he can do to stop it. And another thing I'd like to point out is those were trained Puma Spearmen as well. So sometimes we won't see a ton of Puma Spearmen be trained early in the game. And so Mitoe could, maybe he didn't get a perfect read on the number of them. He might think that was just a card and that there's maybe no more Puma threat remaining, but there's still 6 Puma that can come here from this pressure as well. So
I think they will come, because he killed, you get the double EXP for killing an agrifort. He got 640 EXP, and now he got another 120 from the market. So he's got an 806 or 760 EXP just from sieging buildings with this push, and it's just that's look at he's just gotten the 6 Puma. He's got another shipment stacked, and he'll have another one. So he's literally just chaining nonstop unit shipments one after another here. Just riding on the XP from the sieging.
Yeah, and he's killed a couple villagers as well. 2 villagers have gone down the economic unit population, despite the fact that Ace has played very, very aggressively. It has remained, quite high. Certainly, Mitoe, if you take a look at his market going down, doesn't have any upgrades. Didn't manage to get a single upgrade from the market before it went down, and that's significant. That's just resources that are now forfeit and going to be difficult to recover. And we mentioned the nice things the agrifort gave you. It gave you the extra cover on the coin mine. It helped cover your tree line, and now all of the sudden you're exposed in those ways that you weren't previously exposed, and the villagers on the tree line become less safe. And
there's a hole in the wall too, just as if that only the infantry can go through, not the cav. So if Ace does back the mace out here, he can walk right out the hole, and then he's going to delete the wall segment to get to them. It's like the wall actually just hurts him.
Yeah.
But funny enough, I mean, what I really want to call attention to is Mitoe shipped 4 shipments. A's has got his 7th on the way. So that's just, it's unbelievable how many more shipments he's gotten.
Yeah.
Just from the sieging. And really, like at this point, it just kind of speaks to how hard it is to hold the Aztec pressure as India, and how perfectly you have to play every shot that you shoot with everything in that first push has to hit the right targets. And if it doesn't, you end up looking exactly like this, right?
Yeah. I think we've all been on the other side, or on Mitoe's side of this Aztec push, where it's just like there are so many units and it's such a diverse composition, and there's just like these little mace throwing their rocks at you, and like they don't really hurt, but like you just can't make it stop, and you just want it to stop.
You can't make it stop.
It's just like these free units basically bonking in the head with rocks, and there's very little you can do to deal with it. Now, I will say that Mitoe's got some good infrastructure up. He does have his consulate allied with the Ottomans, so he will have some units potentially coming out of there relatively soon. He has his stable, he has his barracks, he's kind of regrouped his infrastructure, but here comes the big fight. Is it even going to matter? The Hussar from the Ottoman consulate are in the mix. The Puma Spearmen in a decent position, poking away on the Hussar pretty good. Here comes the Sepoy shipment as well as some of the irregulars and sentries as well, but more and more mace just flooding in from the back of this, and with the Explorer in there, probably in cover mode, just banging away in the middle of the Gurkhas. I don't know if it's going to matter. I think he's just going to be able to kill so much here, killing some villagers.
Literally one export away from minutes. If like Ottoman minutes need to come out right now, they're there. They're already out.
They're out. They just got out.
Yeah, so he's probably going to hold this, but does it really matter?
He's taking so much economic damage, though. Like, look at it. He's down to 19 economic unit population. He's trying to rebuild his market, but he doesn't have any market upgrades. Look at the WarChiefs is still alive, just banging away there in cover mode.
They're still just exactly. This is whenever this makes you want to play Aztec, right?
Yeah.
Like that was just crazy. He got totally rolled over.
Yeah, and I think
we forgot to call them. Okay.
Look at the Puma just sieging away on the rags. Yeah, and I think this is going to be a really difficult position for Mitoe to recover from. If you look at the economic unit population, they both have a trading post, and Mitoe's just so far behind. He knows it, and he taps out. GG. A's is going to take the series 4 games to 2.
There you go. That was an incredible series, so I'm glad that we got to see it.
Yeah, it was pretty fun to watch. I haven't watched, I haven't cast, I haven't played Age of Empires 3 in a long time, and it was really, really enjoyable. A's advancing through this side of the bracket, beating Mitoe. On the other side of the bracket, I believe we have Diaroga and Kaiserklain, who will be playing their semifinal match at some point in the future. I think I looked at their scheduling thread briefly, and it looked like they were not in a position to play this weekend, so either midweek this week sometime, or perhaps next weekend is when they'll be playing. But either way, a fun stream to watch, and brings you back to the good old days of watching, casting, and playing Age of Empires 3.
All right. Always good to catch with you, man. Are you? I know that there's a game coming up in about 10 minutes for Age of Empires Online. I'm not sure what's going on with that.
I don't think I'm casting that. I've got a couple other things that I need to wrap up for my afternoon, but certainly I do believe you're right. I think there's going to be more Age of Empires, a different brand of Age of Empires coming up next. I think it's going to be Age of Empires Online. And for those of you who are interested, please do stick around. Continue to support Age of Empires in general, and I think that's going to do it for our stream. Anything else to say before we close out here?
No, nothing else. Thanks for coming out, man. It's always good to have you back casting. I'm sure everyone's excited to see you.
All right, awesome. It was so much fun. Thanks for joining me, and thanks guys for tuning in. We'll see you soon. Take care.